I immediately think of Ryan Reynolds when it comes to that stuff, like the PG-13 edgy, like sexual humor. Like that's the guy I always think of.
Is it too much for you?
What?
Is it too much for you?
No,
I
don't care.
Okay.
Waiting.
When you have sexy thoughts, you think of Ryan Reynolds.
I do. Yeah.
Ryan Reynolds and Rosewater.
Yeah. Gets them every time.
It's like the International Women's
I started
Day.
putting it on my beard.
Ryan,
I'm all kinds of
So you can
confused.
You put Ryan Reynolds on your beard?
You can
No.
stay all horned up all day.
Rosewater.
You do celebrate International Women's Day in the Salty household?
Rosewater? It's a bathtub full of rosewater?
No.
Or Ryan Reynolds?
He's like, I'm
Oh,
gonna
International
take
Women's Day.
myself on a date.
Oh. No, I've been meaning to try that.
No, you have not. Take that back.
I'm open to all forms of pleasure, baby.
All right.
You guys ready to talk about dinosaurs?
Yeah, whenever you are.
All right, cool. Let's get into it. Welcome back to another episode of the Salty Nerd Podcast. I am your host, the Salty Nerd. In today's episode, we're going to be discussing the Jurassic Park sequel movies, Jurassic World and Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, with a little snippet of Battle at Big Rock to include that into the franchise. And as always, I am joined by my salty crew, starting with Matthew Kadish, author extraordinaire. What's up, man?
Rawr.
That was the weakest roar. I am also Jude. I'm also joined.
You
by
are also Jude?
I'm also Jude.
Me too.
I am Jude Juju, the ambassador of estrogen herself. What's up, Jude?
Hello.
Thank you for the beard.
Huh?
Thank you for the beer.
I thought you said thank you for the beard.
That's what I thought he said, too.
Yeah, that is what he said.
Is it?
He misheard himself.
I misheard myself.
Anytime.
My brain said
On
something.
both.
Thank you for the beer. Thank
Whatever
you.
you want to do, I'm on board as your friend.
For those who can't see, Salty is growing a beard right now.
He's trying to.
He's trying to.
It's my quarantine beard. It's working. It's only 2 weeks old. Give it time.
You need a little help.
I do. If it doesn't grow in like thicker than this, I'm just going to shave it off. I'm not going for the like scraggly look.
John Snowbeard.
Give it some time.
No, not John Snowbeard. I'm also joined by Matt Vader, the barbarian himself. What's up, man? I'm
sitting here looking at Ricola cough drops and an IPA. And I don't know if it's going to be a good mix.
Podcast life, buddy.
Got to lube that throat.
Gotta lube that throat.
Why don't you try putting one of your Ricolas in your IPA?
Oh, no.
And then just sip on your IPA.
All right, guys. Before we get started, I just want to remind everybody that you guys can support the podcast. You can go to saltynerdvideo.com, subscribe to our YouTube channel where we have all of our content there available to you. Not only do we have the full-length episodes, we also cut them up in little segments for your listening pleasure. So if you want to support the podcast, please go to saltynerdvideo.com, subscribe, like, leave comments, tell us what you're thinking, tell us what you want to talk about, and we will see you on the interwebs. Now let's get into it. Dinosaurs. Ready? All right. Here we go.
Never ready for
Jurassic World,
Bum, bum, bum.
the longtime sequel to
Say it in your narrator voice.
Jurassic World, longtime sequel to the expensively fantastic franchise Jurassic Park, started by Steven Spielberg and taken up by Colin Trevorrow.
Do you mean the long in the making sequel? Because otherwise,
There were so many different versions of this movie. It's crazy.
It feels more like a reboot than a
It
sequel.
kind of is.
It's a soft reboot.
It's a soft reboot, but it does honor the
It's a
legacy.
rebish.
A rebish? It is a soft reboot. I'm not going to like sugarcoat it. It is. It's basically the same story as the first movie, just with some extra features and some new characters. But I think the biggest difference with it is that it doesn't springboard off the original movie and then just leave it in the dust. It kind of honors the legacy of it, which is what I appreciate the most about these sequel movies, is that they're not trashing what came before. They're actually using it to build a future story, which I really do appreciate it. But this movie, like when it first came out, I remember way back before Chris Pratt was like Chris Pratt, right? The super famous superstar.
You can't see it, but he just air quoted.
I air quoted Chris Pratt. I remember
Star-Lord.
Star-Lord. Before he was Star-Lord, he made a video, like just a regular video. When he was still Andy Dwyer from Parks and Rec, he made a video. Like he was like making fun of like Steven Spielberg. He's like, yeah, I called Steven and, I wanted to be on Jurassic Park 5. I told him like, it's got to happen, right? It's going to happen. And then like a couple of years later, they did cast him in Jurassic Park 5.
Do you follow him on Instagram?
I do.
Chris
He's
Pratt?
awesome.
He's so funny.
He's cool.
I love it when he posts about being really hungry because he's trying to get in shape for his other movies.
Like, what's my snack?
What's my snack?
I'm so hungry.
When he was...
when he had the chocolate cake?
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's so funny.
It's hilarious.
He's like, I'm just going to have a bite. And he eats the whole thing.
There's this great story about Zoe Saldana, who plays Gamora in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. She was being interviewed, and the interviewer was asking her, so like, what's it like being, the only woman in this cast? It's like, do the guys always make, raunchy jokes around you? And she's like, actually, most of the talk is just about what we're going to eat after the movie's over.
They're all tired of being in shape. But
Yeah.
Chris
I feel
Pratt,
that.
talk about a glow up from Andy Dwyer to Star-Lord and Owen Grady. Like, damn.
Oh, and Thunder Guns.
Owen Thunderguns.
He looks good in these movies, man. It was really cool to see. I've been following him for a while. Like I said, a huge fan of Parks and Rec, so I knew who Chris Pratt was a long time ago, and like seeing him get these bigger and bigger roles and become this big time movie star. It's really cool.
He was
to watch.
pretty chunky on Parks and Rec.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He was a big dude. It's
I don't think he was a big boy. I just think he was like
chunky.
a dad bod boy.
Yeah, he had dad bod for sure. Was he a dad
No.
at that time?
Yes.
No, I can't remember. I'm not like that deep into his personal life, but
I think
He
they
just got
have a
married, like, last year.
10-year-old.
Well, he was originally married to Anna Faris, and then they divorced, and then he married a Schwarzenegger.
yeah.
Oh, are they married now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank
But
you.
anyway,
Thank you for
You're
correcting
welcome.
me there.
No, but I think
I wanted to know that. That's good.
I
That's
think
good
his little
information.
boy with Anna Faris is like 10 now.
Hey, he's connected to Arnold.
yeah,
Yeah, he is. He's like directly connected
Yeah,
to the
son-in-law.
Yeah.
That would be pretty cool,
He's
right?
Arnold Schwarzenegger's son-in-law.
That's pretty badass, actually.
If he ever disappears, it's because he messed up real bad.
Anyway, so I remember when the rumors started kind of flowing at who was getting cast in this new Jurassic Park movie and like what the storyline was going to be. And I remember for the longest time, like the big, like just, nothing was going on with the JP franchise for a long time. There was always speculation as what the next story would be. And there was talk about like dinosaurs and human hybrid mixed together that were going to go and like start fighting in wars and stuff.
How long was it between the movies?
2001 and then 2015.
That was the craziest thing. Was
Really?
Yeah, it's 13 years.
there at one point the movie was about mercenaries who were human dinosaur hybrids.
Yep.
It's just
There's concept art of it. It's like bananas, dude. It goes way off the rails.
I would have loved that movie.
Yeah, it was. You could look into it, man. They had concept art. They had scripts. They were ready
believe
to
you.
go.
I believe you. It's
Alex,
okay.
how active was the Jurassic Park fandom leading up to Jurassic World? Because, like you said, there was Jurassic Park 3 wasn't the best received movie,
No,
and there was like a big stint between Jurassic World and Jurassic Park 3. So, like, what was the fandom like in that period?
It's hard for me to say because I haven't really been active on Twitter until I started this podcast, so I wasn't like deep diving into different fandoms and stuff like I am now. But I know there's a handful of YouTube channels that have been around there for a long time that during that like long period of nothing, we focused on books. There's a couple comics that kind of came out here and there.
Video games.
We've had a few things that kind of came out like that, but nothing major. It was pretty low key for a long time.
What was the gap? About 15 years?
Almost 13. Yeah.
13. Okay.
Yeah. And, but when we found out that there was going to be a new movie made, I think it kind of exploded. And it was one of the biggest movies that came out that year, which was really cool to see. And I know I called my dad immediately. I was like, hey, Dad, there's a new Jurassic Park movie. I'll take you to it. I'll come pick
And
you up.
he was thrilled.
Oh, yeah. He loves them. He was like, yeah, that sounds great. Let's go.
Sounds like my daughter and my wife with Harry Potter movies. My wife got to go to a Harry Potter movie every other year on her
7
birthday
years.
for 7 years, 8 years.
8 years.
Yeah.
Because they split the last one in two.
Yeah.
Vader, if your wife and daughter ever want to come over and have a Harry Potter night, I'm hosting.
Well, my daughter would be down, but my wife, no. She got enough on her birthdays.
Never seen any of the
She
Harry
hates.
Potter
She
movies.
can't stand them. She's like, it's like me dragging her to Star Wars movies. She's so not a nerd. It's really kind of funny.
She's really not.
But anyway, my theatrical experience.
I'm so sorry the rest of us are here.
You guys don't care about dinosaurs. That's all right.
Loop that throat.
I
Matt.
care.
I care.
You
I
care?
care that you care.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I care that you like these not so great but fun movies.
I had a blast at this movie. I'm not.
They're a special place in your heart.
They are.
That's
But I
fine.
did I also can try to look at it with a critical eye, and it's not my favorite movie. I can obviously see that it's a very soft reboot, which I think might be. You all right
It's just water.
I know.
Vader just lubed his throat.
there? Yep.
Now my lips are all oily.
Do you feel moist from the inside out?
Sorry, derailed.
I'm leaving that in. That was funny. That's awesome. You feel moist from the inside. Anyway, Dad at the theater. I had a good time. I knew what it was, and there's something interesting that I wanted to say, because it's pretty obvious to say that this is kind of like a soft reboot, like we said already. But what I wanted to mention was that this is not exactly what Colin Trevorrow wanted to do with the franchise. There's a couple of interviews, nothing like outright like he was pissed that he had to do this, but obviously he was very gracious, and he's been a great director to kind of usher this franchise into the new era. And what I wanted to say was that there's a couple of interviews with Chris Pratt and him, and I think Bryce Dallas Howard might have mentioned something along the lines of like the reboot style movies that we've been getting is not what Colin had in mind. I think the studio wanted to kind of reinvigorate the franchise, kind of remind people about this world, about this universe. It's been 13 years. Let's reintroduce the basic plot of these movies. So I think that's why these first two movies, Jurassic World and then Fallen Kingdom, were basically Jurassic Park and Lost World kind of reboots. But except for the first one, I think Lost World kind of shied away from where it should have gone, and that's where Fallen Kingdom kind of went with the story. Is the dinosaurs are off the island on the mainlands, and Lost World didn't go that direction, which I think Fallen Kingdom did a better job at that. But before we get too deep into the woods,
I have some snark, but I'll save it for the next movie.
we'll come to you. All right, well, why don't you tell me what was your? Did you see this movie in theaters? Did you?
I think I did.
You think you did?
Yeah.
Nothing that kind of stood
I
out to
don't
you?
remember if I did or not, to be perfectly honest with you.
Ouch.
But I've seen it plenty of times.
Yeah.
So
What about Jude? Jude, what about you? Have you?
I don't remember when I first saw this movie.
God,
Sorry, but I support you.
we're glad you like dinosaurs.
Yeah. So when Matt and I were watching, I know this is fast forwarding a little bit, but we're going to talk about the short film.
Yeah.
What was it called again?
Battle of Big Rock.
Battle of Big Rock. Yeah. So when we were watching that, we got finished watching that, and I just looked at Matt and I was like, I am not upset at all that we live in a world with no dinosaurs. And he was like, yeah, right on. And that's kind of how I feel. Like, I'm not upset that there are no dinosaurs. I respect your love of them. And I definitely empathize with you, because this is how I feel about sharks, but I don't necessarily want sharks around.
I wish they were real.
I wish they were real too. It'd
do.
be dope.
Well, they were real.
I mean, now.
Yeah, I wish they were still alive.
There you go.
How's that?
Oh, leave it to Kadish to be like, well, actually.
Actually. Kadish, why don't you...
Where's your dossier that you have?
Why don't you tell us your theatrical experience about the Jurassic World movie?
So I've made it clear by now that I was not a big Jurassic Park fan.
Mr. Poopy Pants.
Yeah, I like the first one, second one. Didn't watch the third one until we did the podcast on it.
Really?
You
Yeah.
can't see it, but Kadish
Wow.
just side-eyed Alex really hard.
And so when this movie came out, I was actually in the middle of my kind of first big book tour. I was doing a lot of convention stuff. And I think I even I had just first started dating Jude when it came out. And so I was seeing a lot of posters for it, around Vegas. And I was just like, I didn't see the third Jurassic Park. I don't really care about Jurassic Park. So I never actually saw this in the theater. but I did get it when it came out on video and watched it, and I actually really enjoy this movie. I think it's a very fun movie. It's got a lot of flaws, but it's one of those films where it's so enjoyable you can look past the flaws and just kind of like, turn your brain off and have a good time watching it.
It's easily my second favorite in the series.
Franchise.
I'd agree with that. Yeah. Yeah. The first Jurassic Park, and then
What? I also enjoyed this movie.
we know you did.
Yeah. I can't think of any outrageous flaws in this movie that were like that kind of killed the plot. Everything makes sense to me, but I'm like super deep into the lore and history of the movies and of the books and all that stuff. So I'm like, maybe I have some external knowledge that kind of fills in some of the gaps that there might be in the films themselves. Can you specify what you're talking about?
Not necessarily.
Man, you just knocked on a door to a Pandora's box.
I'm going to answer every single one of them, and it's going to go away.
I would say that in terms of the writing, there isn't much bad with Jurassic World. My biggest problem is with some of the concepts. Like some of them are just silly. The whole militarizing dinosaurs type thing. Like I get
that's a big sticking point with you.
Well, I mean, it's stupid.
He's a military brat.
I am a military brat. I grew up in the military, but also just from like a strictly logical point of view, militarizing dinosaurs is ridiculously dumb and ineffective. And I get the theme they were going for with that whole concept, and they kind of doubled down on it in the second movie, which really wasn't good. But it felt like there were just like a lot of like forced plot elements that had to happen in this movie in order for the plot to go forward. But like I said, this movie is so enjoyable that I'm willing to forgive a lot of these things. Like I got to tell you, Alex, when I was rewatching this, and I had forgotten all about this movie, so my rewatch, it almost felt like I was watching it for the first time. Seeing that Tyrannosaurus versus the Indominus Rex fight at the end was just, it gave me chills. It was so cool. It was just like, like you have like the bad dinosaur who's been terrorizing everyone the entire movie, and then like the T-Rex just shows up and he's like, "Come at me, bitch!"
Not in my house.
Well, that's what's cool about these movies. Is like it's not that great of a movie, but it's cool enough to where you're like
as hell
rooting for these dinosaurs when they're fighting at the end. It's like, oh come on, Rexy, kick his ass.
And then when Blue comes tromping down,
that's
and you're like,
moment.
hell yeah, Blue.
You're my boy Blue.
Yeah.
I do have one question though.
What's up?
Where did all those thousands of people go?
Oh yeah,
That's the question.
like everyone at the park just disappeared.
They just
20,000 people.
in the middle of the Tyrannosaurus, the rampage.
I know that they show that they were all kind of like stuffed into like this building waiting to be evacuated via ferry.
Yeah.
And that was kind of like the movie's explanation as
Which
to
is
where everyone
nowhere,
went.
if you guys remember in the movie, at the beginning when they get there, the ferry that brings them to the island is nowhere near the visitor center.
No.
Like it's far, far away. You have to like get on
No,
the tram.
what I mean is there's the scene where they're all getting eaten. Best death scene of the entire series, as far as I'm concerned.
A lot of people don't like that scene.
With the nanny chick.
And I don't understand why.
It was brutal.
It
It's
is,
like,
it is the most gratuitous death scene I've ever seen. Like, okay, like that's one of my problems with this movie.
Bring it on. Bring it on, man. You want to talk about gratuitous death scenes? Read the books. This is playtime.
But no, like this was, they like were torturing this woman. This
yeah, for sure.
And it's funny because Trevorrow himself said like his intention with that death was just to make it so over the top that he wanted to, it was the first time a woman had ever gotten killed in the Jurassic Park movie.
That's true.
And he wanted to give her the best death because she was a woman.
Okay.
So a little bit SJW, but that's okay. But the backlash from it was so bad because like she hadn't done anything to deserve such a terrible death.
She lost the kids.
Well, she lost the kids, but she wasn't like an awful character. And so like when he was making the second movie, he had heard the criticism. Because one thing you can say about Trevorrow is like he does have his finger on the pulse of the fandom.
Oh, he's a fantastic guy.
And so like when he was making the second one, he's like, okay, everyone who dies has to deserve.
Well, he didn't direct the second one.
Well, he wrote it.
He wrote it.
Oh, okay.
And he also produced it. But like in the second movie, he made sure that if someone died, they had it coming. And in that first movie, that I mean, that nanny chick, oh my God. It went on forever.
Oh, it was great.
It was fantastic.
It was such a terrible-
It's my favorite kill in the entire series.
Like I understand what you're saying. I love that kill. I understand what you're saying. I don't know how many times I'm going to agree with you, but I'm just going to keep doing it.
Yeah, do it.
Y'all need anger management.
Kill that bitch.
Like
Why do you hate women?
Is her name Carol Baskin?
I get what you're saying, and I
I
understand the argument where people were
I
like,
personally have a really hard time watching women being like tortured. but I mean, like it's bad enough she gets picked up, but she's like, you know, she gets dropped in the water, and then like they start like attacking her in the water, and she's being like, you know, pulled in and out of the water, and she's screaming the whole time, and it's horrific. And
Really?
it lasts forever.
I didn't think it was
it's such a
that
drawn out
memorable.
death.
It was more cartoony to me than horrific.
I didn't like
yeah, it wasn't like bloody and like,
No,
gory or anything.
it was a PG kind of 13.
As far as like the pterodactyls or I can't remember what the pteranodons or something like that. I can't remember the specific name of whatever one was actually like attacking her. But like,
Oh, wait. Was this a genetic modification? I thought it was just a pterodactyl.
no, it was. They're all real. The only one that's a genetic modification is the Indominus. Everything else is a real dinosaur. In the
So there's fossils out there of the little flyers with the T-Rex head.
Yeah.
Those are real?
Those are real.
I thought that was made up for the movie.
No, I
thought
don't think so.
okay.
I think it's real.
Wow.
I'm pretty
Those
sure.
things are terrifying.
Yes, exactly. Because that's what I thought. And I was like, that's a weird looking dinosaur.
Yeah.
Is that real? And then I did some research. And yeah, sure enough, it is. It's like a little flying T-Rex. It's freaking weird.
Nasty.
Not okay with that.
I wish they were still real.
You know what bothered me more than that death?
Hold on, I want to address the death though, because this is an interesting conversation that a lot of people have, and I got in an argument on Twitter about this with somebody. They were like, "Everybody needs to deserve their death." I'm like,
I agree with that.
I don't agree at all. No, these are animals. If you're in the wrong place at the wrong time, you're gonna die.
Random.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if
I
you're
agree.
a good person or a bad person.
But speaking from a narrative perspective, it's like you either want the death to be tragic or you want it to be deserved. Otherwise, you get people who get upset with the killings. And just like from a narrative structure point of view, like, that has to be a consideration when you kill off a character.
Okay. I mean, I get it. I always go back to Eddie. Like, Eddie doesn't. I mean, I guess you could say that was more of the tragic death.
Who was Eddie?
Eddie Carr is the guy who got, in Lost World, who got ripped in half by two T-Rexes.
Yeah, that was gnarly.
That was way more gruesome than this one.
But that was tragic.
It was
he sacrificed himself because he was trying to save his friend.
What about the paddock guard?
Yeah, he didn't deserve to die. Oh, the fat one?
The fat guy.
The other guy.
Yeah, where Pratt was underneath the other car and he just looks at him, it's like, oh shit. And he's done.
I mean, he deserved to die, I guess, because...
Why did he deserve to die?
Because he was the one who opened the door that let the Indominus out.
He got scared?
I guess. That's how you could justify it.
All right.
Yeah,
I think it's a stupid justification.
Death penalty,
because he was gonna,
son of a bitch.
Because if he didn't do that, he was going to die anyway.
That was also a tragic death.
Okay.
That is tragic.
But how cool was that camouflage power?
That's from the books. There was two dinosaurs in the books that had camouflage abilities, and they kind of got left out throughout the other trilogy, and they kind of like throw these little hints at like, hey, we read the books too in these movies, which is kind of cool.
You know what I would have liked to have seen? I would have liked to have seen why the Asian scientist guy goes so evil.
Dr. Wu?
Yeah.
Because we only see him in one movie, and then he's gone.
Yeah.
For a long time.
And then in these movies, he's a dickhead.
He's like Dr. Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Which
Power
I think
trip.
it's kind of cool. In the books, he does have a bit of a power trip, which I think is these movies are true to his character. I feel like
He was drunk on power.
I think he just had an ownership of like, this is my creation, and I want to be the one.
He is like the definition of the mad scientist. I wouldn't call him evil necessarily, because like he's so obsessed with like, playing God as opposed to like, the ramifications of having done that.
Yeah, I think it goes back to that original statement from Dr. Malcolm when he's like, your scientists were so obsessed with whether they could, they didn't stop to think if they should.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's one of the things that I love about these movies is how much they kind of draw on those same themes from the old movies, and they pick up these little threads and they kind of carry them on. And Dr. Wu, he dies in the first book, so he's not really in the books anymore after that, not even mentioned. But as far as the movies are concerned, I think it's a natural progression for his character. He's the only one left from the original park that was there from the beginning. Like Hammond's gone. All the other people are probably gone. Nedry's gone. He was just a tech anyway, but like he I think he feels like he owns this technology. He owns the dinosaurs. He is the one who created them. He gave them life. So he has this God mentality.
Is Sam Jackson still alive?
No, he died.
Did he die?
Yeah,
he got eaten.
Got eaten by a raptor.
In the first movie, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Remember when she's got the hand
Hold
on
on
her
to your
shoulder?
butts.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I think that Dr. Wu had I think he felt like both God and mother to these creatures.
Yeah.
Or father.
He actually has one of the most important lines of dialogue in these movies, in all of the movies, in this one, Jurassic World, where he was with the CEO guy. I can't remember. Mizrani, I think his name is, comes to him and says, "Hey, why did you make the Indominus Rex so evil?" He's like, "I'm just doing what you told me to do." And they were talking. They went on an
Because
argument
originally he was like, "That's so terrifying. It's amazing."
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he was like, "Whoa, why did you make it
it's
like
eating
that?"
people.
Yeah.
Like, what did you expect
Yeah.
was going to happen?
Yeah.
His line about nothing in Jurassic World is natural. All these animals are hybrids of other types of animals. The line that I like to point at the most is if these animals were realistic, they would look far different than what they look like in the park. And he's like, you didn't ask for reality, you asked for more teeth. So that was his line of dialogue that I thought, being a Jurassic Park fan and seeing these articles come out Jurassic Park got it wrong. Dinosaurs actually didn't look like this. And they try to throw shade at the movies for not being accurate to modern day scientific, theories and stuff. I'm like, these movies were made before this discovery, so it's not going to be completely accurate if that's what they were going for. B, they've never been going for the full 100% authentic dinosaur accuracy, so it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, they say from day one that they're
it's hybrids.
Spliced with other
spliced
DNA.
with frogs and other things, and I think cuttlefish comes up and something else in this movie that they were
human.
No,
I'm kidding.
Please don't do that. That would be terrible.
Wait till the next one.
No. Please, no human dinosaur hybrids in these movies. Cloning. Now that's
spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. We'll talk about that in a minute.
Yes.
But I thought that was very interesting.
The reptilians they're off the planet. they escaped the planet millions of years ago.
Oh, okay.
Aliens.
Is that that's the Star Trek episode?
No, it's
Voyager.
That's real.
Is it?
The reptilians are one of the alien races with the grays and the reptilians and the tall whites. That's an entirely different podcast there. So
Can we talk about that later?
Sure.
All right. That sounds fun.
That's Patreon only.
Is this from the show V?
No.
Okay.
No, this is real, babe.
This is some real
Oh, this is real
ancient.
alien
This
shit?
is some real ancient alien
aliens
shit.
type
Okay.
stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we'll get into it later.
Yeah. Alex and I were talking about my alien theories while you guys were gone.
Yep. You guys don't like my alien theories. You guys would be, especially you.
Oh,
You get all
I
weird.
never tell Kadish my alien theories. Keep that to yourself, what we discussed earlier.
I'd be
sir.
like, we have to break up.
All right.
It was aliens.
So you know
I'm
what?
like, it was aliens. He's like, nah, it's probably the Democrats.
you know the thing in this movie that really bugged me more than
Hold on,
anything
we're
else?
going to dial this back into the movies, guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
The thing in this movie that bugged me the most was the running in the high heels.
That bugged you?
It bugged a lot of people.
Really?
I turned to Jude when we were watching it the other night. I was like, can women actually do that? Can they sprint in high heels?
My wife can.
Nah.
I didn't
but
care that much.
Yeah, it didn't bother me at all because it was actually kind of like part of her character.
So look, I kind of got like a semi weird crush on her a little bit.
Bryce Dallas Howard.
Yeah,
Hell,
I like my redheads, man.
I'm
I
with
married
you.
one, so she can run around in high heels all she wants. It's fine. So it's all good.
I feel like
it's a
they should
suspension
have.
of disbelief breaker, though.
I feel like they should have just done like a Jewel of the Nile moment with them and just hacked off the heel, and then she could have run in them, and then nobody would have had a problem with it.
turned them into flats.
Yeah.
They could have, but I didn't.
I'm
have an
actually
issue with
surprised that the heels didn't break when she was like sprinting away.
Those were some sturdy shoes.
Yeah,
Yep.
they were.
it. She's running through the forest.
She don't buy no Payless, buy one, get one.
They're not super glued on heels. Those things are built. I know I liked it. I mean, it's weird to say I liked it, but it never bothered me. It wasn't like the thing that, if you want to talk about a suspension of disbelief breaker, starting that freaking Jeep, those two kids starting the Jeep, and then like it just turned on and they drove away from the
Well, was there
Indominus.
something wrong with the Jeep?
It's been sitting there for like 20 years.
So you put some gas in it, and
Yeah, they changed the battery. That's all they did to
that's
it.
all you need.
They did.
Like, what battery was laying around that was going to make you?
No, they justified it by saying that they fixed their grandpa's car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And with that battery, they filled it up with water and stuff like that.
Now,
like they basically like recharged it.
Okay, but weird that you had an issue with that, but you didn't have an issue in Jurassic Park 3 where they like happened upon that boat and they were like, yeah, we'll just start up the boat and we'll go down the river.
Boats are
And that
sturdier.
had been, no. The gasoline been sitting there that long in the moisture. I didn't even bring it up because I knew it was nitpicking, but because you said you had a problem with it.
I didn't have a problem with it.
Feel like
I just
we need to
say
have
if like
discussion
as
about
far
it.
as like suspension of disbelief, like trying to stretch it a little bit, like two kids starting a 20-year-old Jeep that's been sitting in the garage that happens to still have tires that are like good. Like, I don't know, maybe because I work on cars more than I work on boats, but I found that a little bit of a stretch.
It was a little bit of a stretch. I think
But-
you're correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
But nothing that like broke the movie for me. I was just kind of like, meh, that's probably not real.
Carry on.
Anything else you guys
It
want?
wasn't, it's not real.
No,
I
none of
think
this
that
is real.
the-
Yeah, no, they don't have dinosaurs.
What?
It's not real.
I guess I'll go outside now.
Yeah, we're done.
I feel like the kids in the original were way more likable than the kids in this one.
Why do they?
ouch.
Why do they have kids in every single?
We talked about this last time.
It's-
It's a
yeah,
tradition.
it's a
It's part of the fabric
Gotta
of these
have
movies.
kids. Gotta have them babies.
Why can't we ever eat some kids?
You want to see a child
Hell yeah.
get eaten by a dinosaur?
Yeah,
Happens in the book.
Happens in the book.
Read the book.
do it. If
Go
they're
read the
gonna
book.
do it,
a
do
baby,
it.
a newborn gets eaten, man. That's
That's
even
gnarly.
gnarly.
Mater hates
Whatever.
books.
And considering how much Salty hates kids in movies, you'd think
Yeah.
that
Okay.
this would bug him.
You understand, I've talked about this a million freaking times. My issue with kids in movies is when kids do things that are unbelievable and or make adults look
Like
idiot,
gymnastics that kick dinosaurs
Yes,
through
that I
windows.
told you I didn't like that
So-
moment in the movie.
Like fixing Jeeps.
Yeah.
When is the acceptable age for dinosaur digestion?
18 at least.
18.
18?
They have to be 18 to get eaten by a dinosaur?
For it to be acceptable.
There was
I'd
like
go
a ton
younger.
of kids there at the park when all the flying raptors and shit came down, and
They said
telling
there
me
was. They said
none
there
of
were
them kids got
several.
eaten?
They did say there were several missing kids during the pandemonium of like everybody running around. They were like, "We've got missing kids."
now
down here."
I want to go watch that again and see if there was like any
kids that got picked up?
when they
Yeah.
flew through. Yeah.
Some CG kids.
No, but I like my favorite part about the attack with the pterodactyls that came into the visitor center is the guy who had 2 margaritas.
Oh, yeah.
I love him.
That guy.
That guy.
He's a gift.
As the dinosaurs are attacking, he gets his margaritas and runs away because he doesn't want to waste his margaritas.
It's like
I feel that guy.
Those are like $40 margaritas.
Yeah.
I see that guy every day in Vegas when I'm at work.
Yeah.
He's like-
and if you need to hunker down for a while and wait for things to blow over, you need
got a
those
margarita.
margaritas. Yeah.
You know, he was like one of those old guys on vacation, and like he just wants to
Yeah.
relax and
He's
drink.
wearing a shirt like Alex right now.
Yeah, a little Hawaiian shirt
Hawaiian
with
shirt
his
with dinosaurs on
oversized sunglasses.
Yep. I love that guy. That's my favorite character in this movie.
My favorite character is actually Lowry. I loved Lowry.
Lowry. Which one was that one?
The tech guy who wore the
James, what's his name?
Jake
The actor?
Johnson.
Jake Johnson.
Oh, you mean Nick?
Yeah, Nick from New Girl.
Yeah.
He's awesome.
Same dude
He's
in every
coming back
show.
for the 3rd movie.
Is he?
Is he
Yeah.
good?
We were
Cool.
wondering what happened to him.
Well, they were in talks to bring him back for the second Jurassic World, and he was going to have like a ponytail, and he was going to be all traumatized from having seen like dinosaurs eat people and stuff. Like he was going to have like PTSD and like be all like nervous. And I guess like eventually they just decided to go in a different direction and not bring his character back because they wanted to have like younger characters in the movie. But I'm glad to hear he's coming back for the 3rd
Yeah,
one
he's coming back for the 3rd one.
because he was one of my favorites.
He's awesome. I love his
Yeah.
character.
His name will be Nick in everything he's ever.
I agree.
Nick from New Girl.
Yeah. Well, Jude asked when we were watching. It's like, what's that actor's name? I'm like, Nick.
It's Nick.
yeah.
I want to see Schmitty come back in a cameo.
Oh,
Yeah, for sure.
I'd like to see a whole movie with Nick, Schmitty, and Winston.
There you go.
Like
I'd watch that
New
movie.
Girl is.
I just want to
hilarious.
see
It's
New
so
Girl
funny.
on a movie. I want to see the new Girl the movie. That'd be
Can
good.
we learn how to play the American? The
Oh, yeah,
drinking
yeah, yeah.
game that
True
they
American.
play. True American.
Yeah.
I want to play
Yeah.
that freaking drinking
The floor
game.
is lava.
Yes.
Yes. Dude,
We
yes.
need to do
I
that.
think I'm
If I
too
could
old.
reach you, I would high five you right now.
Vader's over here like Winston with his cats.
Zoe Deschanel.
Are you the?
I love her.
She's awesome. What was I going to say? Okay, all right, I'll just say
Wow, that was a
some of the it totally derailed. You guys don't care enough about dinosaurs for me to keep you on track.
We care.
We care.
Stop
You know why?
declaring that we don't
Because-
care.
We care because you care.
Okay. Well,
Here's how much I care about dinosaurs.
See, he doesn't care. We care.
Here's how much I care about dinosaurs. Like, I feel like the Brontosaurus, is that the one with the big neck?
It's the Brachiosaurus.
Brachiosaurus.
Okay.
Brontosaurus also has. Long
That's what I said last week, and you jumped my shit.
No,
Mom,
because
Dad,
you.
please don't
okay,
fight.
the Brachiosaurus is in the movie. That's the scene that you're talking about with Alan Grant and Ellie when they looking at the Jeep. That's
I don't know what. Long necks.
Brachiosaurus.
Okay, it's long necks.
Brontosauruses also have long necks, and so does another type I can't remember the name of. There's 3 different types of
All right.
long necks.
So the Brachiosaurus.
Plant eaters.
The Brachiosaurus gets done so dirty in all the Jurassic World movies. Like they just get mauled and tortured and like it's so heartbreaking every time. Like when I saw, okay, so first of all, we have a death in the first one where the Indominus Rex basically mauls this Brachiosaurus and Owen Thunderguns has to be at its side as it's dying. And it's so sad. Like I teared up. And then in the second one, it freaking gets lit on fire by lava and dies.
Oh, that's so sad.
And they're just watching it, and you can hear it crying as it dies.
Yeah.
And I like both of those scenes just like really
They're
got
harsh,
to
man.
me. Oh man, they're
Yeah.
terrible.
I was really,
I
I was
feel
really
like-
broken up. Tears came.
I can
down my
appreciate that in the first movie that they used animatronic Brontosaurus for that scene.
eyes. You know, the first movie still looks better to me.
It does.
It does.
It's,
I don't know why, man. Even the animatronics.
Yeah.
Like, I agree with you.
It was funny because I don't know if you guys watched that YouTube video. that
I did not
sent
have
you.
a chance to watch that.
I forced Jude to watch it last night, and
I was drunk. It's fine.
it goes into like the differences between how Spielberg shot the first one and how like all the other movies were shot.
this yeah, okay. I know
Like
what
the
you're
aspect
talking about.
ratio,
Yeah.
the lighting, the framing, and all this stuff. And you can see like just from like Spielberg's genius versus like these other directors who've done this stuff. And that's one of the big reasons why it looks as good as it does. And that's just how it is.
Yeah.
Spielberg versus other.
Other people.
Yeah.
Colin Trevorrow.
No, I feel like
the aspect ratio is different. It's a taller aspect ratio that the first one was shot in than the typical
So you can
widescreen.
it's easier to dwarf the humans when they're up against the dinosaur. And in these modern movies, they don't quite make that same shot work.
And they also talked about like the majesty versus the horror, where like when you want people to be in awe, like you pull out and you show like long shots and you show like how big and majestic something is, and then when you want people to be scared, you make it claustrophobic and you get really close in on the action and stuff like that. And they also talked about how Spielberg like framed the dinosaurs within a frame. So like you have the camera frame, which is showing you the picture, but then you have something in the environment, like a door with like a window in it that you see the dinosaur through. And that tends to, make it more claustrophobic when you're looking at stuff through other stuff. Like they talked about how like it's very rarely like when Jurassic Park becomes a horror movie, basically, it's very rare that you actually have the camera looking directly at the dinosaurs. You're usually looking through glass, or you're looking through like a door frame or like some type of thing that it's almost like you're seeing stuff from the character's point of view. And it's very sophisticated, like, cinematography that, kind of went into the first Jurassic Park that made it, feel that way. And I feel like, even though I think Jay Bayonetta and Colin Trevorrow are pretty decent directors in terms of like their visual style, they just can't hold a candle to Spielberg in terms of like the sophistication.
I can agree with that. I mean, these movies definitely are lacking in that specific type of visual cue for these movies. And I don't know if I can hold it against them or if it's just not what they're going for anymore. Because I was thinking about that when I was watching the Jurassic World again for this podcast. I mean, I watch it on the regular, but I was like, I really tried to sit down and focus on what was going on. And a lot of the things that I noticed is like, it's definitely not like a horror. Like there's not really any scary moments per se. Nothing that's even close to the first movie. Like when the kids are legitimately terrified when the T-Rex comes out of that paddock and attacks the truck. Like they're freaking out. As opposed to when Gray and his brother Zach, I think, when they
The one that cried all the time?
Yeah, the one that cried all the time. When they get attacked by the Indominus and the little hamster ball thing, like they're afraid, but they're not petrified like the kids were in the first movie. There's never that moment where you're like, holy shit.
I would have had like a big old pee stain in my pants.
Yeah, exactly. Like that. I don't know what it is, if there's something lacking or if that's just not what they were going for.
Also, I think the perspective of the kids in the original had come from a world where there were no dinosaurs, and this was their first interaction with seeing and being close up on a dinosaur. And the kids in this movie grew up in a world that there were dinosaurs.
Yeah.
So it was just like okay, oh shit, what are we going to do? Versus this has never happened to anyone before. What are we going to do?
That's a fantastic point.
I don't know. I think if there's a dinosaur trying to eat me, I'd be pretty petrified whether I'd ever seen one before or not.
It would be like if a lion came at you. Like you'd be scared, but you'd be like, well, shit, that's a lion. Like, I don't know. I'm trying to think.
Yeah, I'd be terrified.
But I don't know. There's something.
I'd be,
something
oh shit, there's a lion trying to eat me right now. So I don't know, whatever.
I like the point though. That's a good point though, Jude. It's a solid thumbs up on that one.
Thanks.
Dinosaurs.
Dinosaurs. Yeah.
But I'll say this. This movie held up much better than I thought it would, Jurassic World. I think because the second movie kind of colored my view of the series, I kind of poo-poo on Jurassic World a little bit more than it deserves. But
don't say.
It felt like one of those just cheesy 80s fun movies, like from the 80s, where you can just, it's got its flaws, but overall it's a fun experience. It's a fun adventure type of movie.
I wanted to bring up one thing before we move on. Actually, two things. One, my favorite scene in the whole movie is when Bryce Dallas Howard is holding the flare in front of the T-Rex paddock, and you see the T-Rex. That's just like such a majestic shot. It was amazing. It's probably my favorite shot. Besides the first movie in the entire franchise, that one's like right up there with number 1 or number 2.
Yeah. And her terror at having to interact with these animals, that she was very...
she has a great arc.
Yeah, she was very hands-off with and very like arm's length with crediting them as being like animals versus just like a part of her job. Like towards the end of the movie where she's just fully embracing that these are animals attacking, and her terror, I really believed everything that she was giving me in those moments of her acting. I
like that scene where she's, driving the kids and the raptors are chasing or like they're watching Owen Thunderguns ride his motorcycle with the raptors, and they're just like, your boyfriend's a badass.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, that was cool.
She got the little smirk on her face. Yeah, that's good stuff. Talking about the Raptors, great segue, by the way. Talking about the Raptors, I wanted to bring up something that is kind of a little bit of a fight between the fandom, is whether or not the Raptors should have been made into heroes versus left as these like very dangerous villain type characters in the other movies. Because I can see both reasons why. Like if like it's kind of a trope sometimes of like if you're a villain in a franchise long enough, eventually you become the hero. And that's kind of like flipping the script and making things new and fresh. And you see that happen in a lot of like superhero movies and stuff.
In what franchises do villains become heroes?
Westworld.
You're putting me on the spot.
Westworld.
Well, that's a TV show. That's not a franchise. I'm asking about movie franchises.
Like Terminator.
Yeah.
Terminator would be one. Alien versus the Predators become the heroes later on, like those types of things. There's other examples that I can think of. I can't think of right now, but
maybe enjoyed is the wrong word. But I appreciated that they didn't try to make the Raptors be one or the other. I felt like it was best left ambiguous because the Raptors aren't heroes and they're not enemies. They're wild animals. So I appreciated that Blue imprinted with Owen and had a history with him, and that's why his involvement was what it was. But other than that, he's still a dinosaur. He's still a beast. So I appreciated that it was left as that and not like all of a sudden the Raptors are the good guys. I would not have believed that at all, and it would have pissed me off.
This is a very Spielberg thing to do as well, in the sense that so it was Spielberg's idea to have a character who trained dinosaurs. like he had three big ideas for Jurassic World. It was we get to see the park in operation. We get a character who trains dinosaurs, and I think we have a dinosaur who gets loose and terrorizes the park. Like those were his big three things that he wanted to have in the script. And so throughout most of the drafts of Jurassic World, those were like the three elements that were always present. And, Spielberg is a big kind of like a boy and his dog type thing. Like he likes exploring these relationships between characters and animals or aliens or like what have you. And so it seems to me like the whole raptors becoming allies to humans type thing was really pushed by Spielberg.
Do you agree with that? Do you think it was a good choice, or do you think they should have been left as more of like episode of like Jurassic Park and the Lost World, where they were like
I think it's
an antagonist?
I think it's an interesting choice because we've had three movies where all the dinosaurs are basically the antagonists, and so in going in, with a new direction for the franchise, it kind of makes sense because like isn't the whole theme for Jurassic World kind of like, okay, now we get to see humans and dinosaurs exist together as opposed to, what we saw in the first three movies.
If there was going to be any dinosaurs that were trained, it's going to be the raptors too.
Oh yeah, they're the smartest ones.
They always implied that they were the smartest ones, and they communicated and had some cognitive abilities, and it was good.
I feel like it was a natural progression. I agree. I'm fine with it. I know some people get irritated because they miss that that terror.
And Blue and his crew weren't the same raptors that were out there killing people in the tall grass fields. These were raised from hatchlings to imprint on what's his name? Owen. Yeah. And it makes sense to me.
I liked it. I enjoyed it. I can see the point that like they missed that like old school version of the Raptors where like we're supposed to be terrified of these things. They can open doors. They're smart. They set traps, this and that. Like I like that version of Raptors too. And I hope we get to see that again some in the next movies or maybe in some TV shows or something. But
it was also nice to see like at the end when you have that scene that kind of mirrored the first scene or the last scene in Jurassic Park where Alan Grant and Ellie had like the two kids and they're surrounded by the raptors, and then like the T-Rex kind of shows up and saves them. You have a similar scene here, but there's a nice twist on it where like, Owen and Claire have the kids and the raptors show up and they surround them, and then the Indominus Rex is kind of coming their way, and the raptors recognize Owen and they decide, you know what, we're going to attack Mama Raptor instead because we like Owen.
Yeah.
And it was kind of, and, two of them die because of that choice, but it was interesting to, see the animals do that because it almost kind of paid off what was set up. Imagine that, set up and pay off. In the very first scene where we introduce Owen, where, he's not only controlling them, but it also kind of demonstrates how dangerous they are. And one of the things about Owen's character that makes him kind of like the hero is that he respects the dinosaurs. He respects how powerful and dangerous they are. And that pays off at the end.
Yeah.
And I did love that part where, Owen's kind of followed the raptors to the Indominus Rex and all the mercenaries are there with him. And he realizes like, oh my God, they used raptor DNA to make this thing. And, and then like it's kind of like the Indominus Rex puts a spell on the raptors and turns them to his side. And that was like a cool reveal moment, because they never kind of told you, when he asked Claire at the beginning, it's like, would they make this creature out of?
It's confidential.
And she's like, it's classified. And he's like, oh, so you don't know.
Yeah.
And she obviously didn't. And then like you get that reveal. It's like, oh, they made it out of raptor DNA. And it's like, oh, that would have been nice to know before you went to, kill the thing.
Since we're talking about the raptors, I kind of want to go back to your point about like your sticking point with this about the militarization of animals and dinosaurs. And I think that it can be kind of a corny idea and it might not like make logical sense in the real world, but in context of the world that they're living in, one of the lines that Vincent D'Onofrio's character, I can't remember his name, he says like, as soon as a real war breaks out, all this electronic stuff is going to go dark. Like they're just going to EMP us and we're not going to have anything. So like if we have something as a backup, as something that nobody else has, this one element that could be a game changer for us, it's going to be using these trained raptors in a combat situation. I feel like that's enough of a justification for the story to kind of be believable, but you don't agree with that?
I don't agree with that at all. No.
Why not? Can you explore that idea?
Well, the thing about using animals in warfare is, first of all, animals require a lot of care and attention. So like you need to feed them, they need to sleep, you need to transport them. And when you're using animals as dangerous as dinosaurs, like they could just as easily wipe out the good guys as they can the bad guys just by being taken care of. So they're incredibly inefficient in terms of like, battle stuff. If you're using animals for warfare, you'd want, trained and domesticated animals that aren't going to be of a threat to you. Like for instance, in history, we've had, trained elephants, but tanks replace those things eventually. We've had horses, but motor vehicles and motorcycles and stuff like that replace them. But horses, like if you look at battles that involve horses, like the horses had to be trained from birth. They had to be like a specialized breed to carry all the armor and like do the charging and stuff like that. With in terms of like dinosaurs, unless they had like computer chips in their brains that allowed you to like control them like a freaking video game, they're just so unpredictable that they would actually present just as much of a danger to your own troops as they would to the enemy troops. And so like, if they were going to go that route, I would say that it would make more sense to have like the pterodactyls or like the flying things trained, because that way they could like swoop in and drop bombs or like kamikaze something or something, The raptor stuff is just, to me, just is a silly idea. And expensive, yeah.
Owen Grady or Owen
Thunderguns.
Owen Thunderguns said the same thing in the movie. He was
right.
He's probably on your side. He's like, this is not going to end well for you. And that's actually eventually what we see, right? The raptors go under the spell of the Indominus, and then they turn on the mercenaries and they go back and eat everybody. So that's exactly what happened. That's what we're talking about. Yeah, that's what we're saying.
They just like, yo, man, how's it going?
It's like, hey, I'm
part raptor.
Yeah.
And they were like,
okay.
the
cool.
handshake?
Well, yeah.
And he was like, hell yeah, I know that handshake.
They know that universal dinosaur language.
They put the little flute, the raptor flute.
Yeah.
In
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Also,
Overall, I think it was a solid reboot.
Also, those dinosaurs are, very vulnerable to bullets and
you throw some armor on it. Throw a little.
Like yeah. How do you get close enough to do that?
What do you mean? Okay, so you're talking about like domesticating these animals, whether it's like dogs or horses or elephants. Like elephants are very dangerous in the wild, but you domesticate them and you train them. It's just I don't feel like it's any different than
They could have put armor on the raptors when they were in their little
vest
in their little things when D'Onofrio was talking to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's like they were in their little cattle chutes with their head harnesses.
I all of a sudden now really want to see a concept art of an armored raptor. I think that would be awesome.
If they're anything like my dogs, they would just wiggle out of the armor first chance they get.
They're not like your dogs.
We can ride raptors in World of Warcraft.
Can you? Oh yeah, their arc thing. That arc game
they're troll mounts.
Troll mounts.
Not lying. Nerd. Yeah.
All right. Before we get into the next topic, which will be Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, I wanted to remind everybody that you guys can support this podcast. Go to saltynerdclub.com and check out our Patreon. We have exclusive content there for you guys. We have exclusive podcasts. We've got stickers we can send you. We can all kinds of cool stuff. But if you'd like to support the podcast and send us some cheddar, go to saltynerdclub.com. That is our Patreon page, and we'd appreciate anything that you would be willing to give us. And that being said, let's discuss Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, which is
do we have to
apparently like your least favorite movie ever.
Not ever. Like
I'm gonna have me and you will go last because I'm gonna have a back and forth with you for a while. But Vader, what did you think about this movie? That's it.
I want to know how the lake went from the middle of the island to having ocean access.
What lake?
The lake that the big giant monster was in.
Yeah, so in Jurassic World, when they show like the mosasaur or whatever that huge fish shark thing was,
it's in
it's in the middle of the island, and it doesn't have access to the ocean. However,
but now all of a sudden there's a gate that enters directly to the ocean.
Somehow that lake has teleported to the edge of the island.
It's like they're on a different island.
I'm gonna have to look into that a little deper.
Oh, it's right there,
It's
brother.
right there.
Well, they're very easily could have been like the establishing shot of the new park from the first movie. If we can see where that ended up.
Didn't they show a map?
They did show a
And
map.
then and the lake is in the center of the park.
Right dead center. No access to the ocean. And it's facing the visitor center, like that big pyramid place.
Yeah.
And that's where like the climax of Jurassic World happened, where the mosasaur jumps out and eats the Indominus Rex and pulls it into the lake.
Yeah.
Yes.
But in Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, that has teleported to the ocean.
I think my biggest issue with this movie is it seemed like it was two different movies.
It was, yeah.
It was like, we're going to do this stuff on the island, and that's all cool. And now we don't have just dinosaurs, but we got volcanic eruptions and lava and the world's slowest pyroclastic flows. And that Chris Pratt can outrun, even though it's 800,000 degrees of, skin melting heat. And yeah, man, it was weird. So then we go from the island stuff to the Fortress of Solitude, where the Legion of Doom's in there, auctioning off dinosaurs. Then they all escape, right? And procreate and inhabit the entire world. So it's like me. I don't know. I kind of have a few issues with this movie.
Okay.
But it was still fun.
I have a lot of notes on Fallen.
Do you? Okay. I have when I first, you're right. I can't.
he pulled up the map. And
I pulled up the map. It's like smack in the middle of the freaking island.
It is.
I don't know. I want to say though, I love that freaking opening. The opening for this movie is fantastic.
Well, let me ask you this question about the opening, because I was confused. So the guys in the submarine who open the movie, when they're basically diving down to get a bone sample from the Indominus Rex for the evil scientist guys, one of the guys is nervous and the other guy says, "Relax, everything here is dead." Well, it's only been like 3 years since the events of do they really think all the dinosaurs on that island died over the course of 3 years?
Yeah, I don't understand. I said the same thing. I don't understand why anyone thought that everything there was dead.
I think he was specifically talking about the water area that they were going into, because there was only one dinosaur.
But who was feeding that thing in the last 3 years?
It could. Ocean animals don't always have.
It didn't have access to the ocean until
No, I'm saying it could have. Just
it would be like if Free Willy got stuck in the pond at SeaWorld and nobody fed him for 3 years.
Yeah,
he'd die.
You have to remember that opening scene is the first time that the Mosasaurus was able to escape that area. So what was he eating in that time?
Maybe he didn't have to eat anything.
But to be fair, we're just sitting here nitpicking a movie.
No, it makes sense. Yeah, if it's just opening the movie, okay, there's a couple of inconsistencies here. I can see that. But I don't know, maybe I don't know what the digestive tract of a Mosasaurus was. Maybe it could hibernate for a while like a bear and just not eat and kind of float around motionless for a while. And then it was
either that or he just slowly picked at that Indominus Rex over the course of a couple years.
That's another thing too. Yeah, you could do that. Or you could eat whatever lands in the water. You have to assume that other dinosaurs were going to come and drink out of that water, or maybe that's salt water, so that's not going to happen. If it's close to the shore, it jumps out, grabs something and eats it. There's things you can speculate. There's things you can speculate.
Okay. Let me ask you this, though, because this was a big issue I had, which is basically the whole premise of this film. And if you can't explain this, then this is a big problem to me.
Okay, I'll give it a shot.
All right. So the whole kind of thrust, the catalyst of this movie's story is that there's a volcano on Isla Nublar that's going to erupt. It's going to kill all the dinosaurs. It's going to make them go extinct. Right? So basically, the heroes are assembled to go and save the dinosaurs to keep them from being re-extinct, right?
Yep.
All right. Well, what about Isla Sorna? Aren't there still dinosaurs there? So technically, the dinosaurs wouldn't go extinct. So they don't have to save these dinosaurs because there's a whole other island full of dinosaurs that isn't going to have a volcanic eruption.
I'm pretty sure. Okay, I cannot argue with you as far as the movie is concerned, because I do not believe it's addressed in the movies, but I'm pretty sure as far as the greater fandom and other explanations is that they moved all of the dinosaurs from Sorna onto Nublar when they started repopulating the original island and making it back into a park.
Okay, I will accept that answer. Okay, but in addition to that, so like let's say this island goes volcanic, they have all the embryos and genetic stuff they need to make new dinosaurs. So why not just start over again someplace that doesn't have a volcano?
Because once again, the company that is responsible and the only company that has the technology that is required to make dinosaurs after the park gets rampaged by the Indominus goes completely bankrupt. So it takes an immense amount of funding to do that. I think that's what their idea is. Like if the technology is owned by this one company and this one company goes under, then it's going to be.
But the thing is, like
lost.
If they have the ability to make more dinosaurs, then technically they wouldn't be extinct, right? Because you could just make more at a certain point.
You could.
And you could sell that technology, the patents on that technology to
I think it's also
recoup the investment.
I think it's also a public opinion versus what's happening like under the table with these corporations. Like, oh, we have the technology, so we can technically make more. But the public opinion is like, hey, these dinosaurs exist and this island is going to go bad. And that's what the media attention is on the dinosaurs. And
I also don't get Claire's activism because like she almost got killed. Her nephews almost got killed by dinosaurs. She never really looked at dinosaurs as anything other than like a prop at her job. Even though she learned to like respect them at the end of the first Jurassic World, I would think that she would be like, yeah, let them die because they're incredibly dangerous.
Yeah, she's not raising baby pterodactyls at home on her ranch.
No, but
them.
I think it's part of her arc, right? She starts out as this cold, calculating. These are just numbers on a spreadsheet to the point where she starts to respect them, and now she has an appreciation for them. A couple years later,
I think you're right that it is part of her arc. I don't think that it's believable.
Yeah. Well, same thing happened with John Hammond, right? He was this cold, calculating. I just want to make money. Well, maybe not in the first movie, but in the book, I want to make money. I want to.
Well,
do
we're
this.
talking about the movies, here.
And then the movies. Ian says like you went from capitalist to naturalist in just 4 years. Wow, that's amazing. Like the same. It's the same arc that John Hammond had.
See, I think it would have been more interesting had Owen, Chris Pratt's character, come to Claire and tried to convince her to come back to the island to save it, because it would have made more sense if she was just like, I'm done with dinosaurs. I don't want to deal with dinosaurs anymore. And another big problem I had with this was basically they just reset their relationship. Like their whole kind of relationship in Jurassic World was they had an attraction. They went on a date. It didn't work out. So now they have like this kind of
awkward.
These two characters are not compatible.
No, they're not.
but the thing is like they basically just reset their relationship, and it was the exact same relationship arc in the second movie that was in the first. It's like they couldn't think of somewhere new to take it, and I would have liked to have seen that relationship evolve as opposed to just being reset.
I think that constant like love hate bickering back and forth, like it makes for an interesting movie to watch. These characters are fun when they interact with each other because they can be snarky and stuff, but as like on a relationship level, like no, Claire is not going to be living in a van on the side of the road while he builds his cabin. Like that's not her thing. Like it made sense to me why she wouldn't want to be with him anymore. And they weren't like established as like this long time relationship. They had a fling, and in this movie that fling gets kind of reignited.
The same relationship arc as the first movie.
It is. It's the exact same.
It's like they couldn't have been bothered to think of, something new for the characters to experience together. And
they're just going to re-up.
The big thing about these
have a kid.
These two movies is that
spoilers, dude.
Yeah.
Jeez.
The first Jurassic World, Spielberg was very heavily involved in its development. And I think you can see that, and you can get that from the movie because it is entertaining. Mm-hmm. For this movie, Lost World or Fallen Kingdom. Fallen Kingdom.
Okay.
After the success of the first one, Spielberg basically just handed the reins over to Trevorrow. And he was like, I'll produce it, but I'm not going to be too involved. I've got other stuff going on.
Here, make it good.
So this was Trevorrow's baby. Like he was the one who came up with the idea for the story and the script and all this stuff. He brought on J.A. Bayona. And, this was really Trevorrow's ship to steer. And I think it kind of showcases his kind of shortcomings as a writer very blatantly. And as a storyteller, like he's a decent enough director. I just don't think he's a very good storyteller. And I feel like this movie is a prime example of that.
Okay. Like kind of like I mentioned before, the studio, and I'm sure Steven Spielberg helped out in this, wanted to kind of reestablish this world. The first movie was spent reestablishing dinosaurs on Earth on this park. The second movie is basically doing what The Lost World didn't have the balls to do, is get the animals off the island. That was the whole idea behind this movie. That's the only reason why this movie exists. Because honestly, I think Colin Trevorrow probably had the idea for this movie. Like, okay, they have to go back to the island. We have to have them go there. We have to have them take the dinosaurs off the island so that we can set up for the third movie. The third movie is the one that I think he probably worked. He has been working on for the longest time.
I'm still kind of confused in how this small little group of animals is supposed to populate the entire planet with dinosaurs.
Well, it's not. I mean, it's going to start. That's like the first wave, but
they also showed that the people at the auction who paid for their dinosaurs got them, and at the end they were transporting them. So the idea is that a lot of these were probably created via genetic, like engineering. But I know that in interviews, Colin Trevorrow said that he wanted to get off the island because, we've had 4 movies on an island so far, and people are going to get bored with that. So he wanted to take it in a new direction. And basically, Fallen Kingdom's like 2 different movies crammed into one. There, you have like the beginning, which is the first hour of them on the island. And I actually thought that was the best part of this movie.
Yeah, I did too.
I enjoyed it.
And then the second part, he wanted to tell a haunted house story. Like he literally said, like the second half of this movie is about a haunted house.
Yeah, J.A. Bayona said that.
Yeah,
he wanted to do like the dragon in the castle, princess in the castle thing.
Basically, they made it into like all the Jurassic Parks are a horror movie on some level, and so they just wanted to go from the extinction level event to the horror movie in here and mashed them up together, and I didn't feel it worked at all.
Really?
No.
Oh, I thought it was fine.
It's like 2 completely different shows. Yeah. And I don't think they mixed super well together.
Oh, I disagree. I think it was fine. I mean, I loved the part on the island. I think showcasing the volcanic eruption and all that stuff was really cool. I know it's a stretch to think that he was going to outrun that, but still.
I also thought it was funny that Claire went there to save the dinosaurs, and the first dinosaur she runs into, she leaves to die. I mean, obviously it was trying to kill her at the time, but still, it's like, oh, okay, we're just going to lock you in with all the lava.
See ya.
Mr. Spinal
Baryonyx. It's the Baryonyx. I was going to say, okay, so you mentioned something about Claire and Owen. Like you thought it would have been more interesting to have Owen try to convince Claire to go. And I wanted to just address that real quick. I don't think that would have made any sense, because if that was the case, why would Owen need Claire to go back there in the first place?
Because she has the only bio imprint to turn on the tracking.
Oh, they said that in the movie. Yeah, that's right, didn't they? That's why they brought her in the first place, because she had all the keys to get in. Yeah. And she brought her.
Like it would have been interesting to see, like, instead of approaching Claire at first, they approach Owen and be like, we need you to help us save Blue. And because of his connection to Blue, he reluctantly agrees. But they're like, but we need Claire. And Claire's just like, I don't want to ever go back to Dinosaur Island. But another issue were like the 2 supporting characters for me.
Franklin and
the diversity hires.
Yeah, the diversity hires. Yeah. So like
Franklin is Arby.
True.
Yeah, Franklin. If there was ever a representation of what Arby from the book would be, it's Franklin, like 100%.
I had a real problem with the girl character.
Why?
Like, okay, so what's her title? She's like a
paleo veterinarian.
Paleo veterinarian. Yep. And she's like, I've never worked on a dinosaur before.
Yeah.
Even though she's gone and gotten a degree in paleo veterinary.
Never thought she'd see one.
Yeah, she never thought she'd see one. And you would think that this character, because she's dedicated her life to studying dinosaurs, would have gone to Jurassic World or Jurassic Park at some point in her life just to see dinosaurs, because she's so, obsessed with them.
Or like as part of her training.
Yeah, or as part of her training. Or where was she planning to get a job?
It kind of
probably at Jurassic World before it went under.
It kind of feels like she was just the perfect example of most people that go to liberal arts colleges these days.
Thank you. That's exactly what I was going to say. How many people?
I'm going to go spend hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Veterinary school is a liberal arts school.
Well, it is now.
I mean, it's such a specialized.
I'm going to go get a degree in ancient Ethiopian literature for no freaking reason at all whatsoever.
It's such a specialized profession that you would think that InGen would be the one fostering it.
But it's quite possible that happened.
But the whole idea that she was like, I never thought I'd get to see a dinosaur. It's like Jurassic Park's been open for how many number of years by the time Jurassic
She's a
World
college
starts?
student. She can't afford to go to Costa Rica to go to Jurassic World.
Excuse me. It's a tourist. I mean, like, can you say like I can't afford to go to Disney World?
I can't.
Maybe
You
she
know how
would,
freaking expensive that place
in
is.
in your life. If,
Yeah,
if
but
that's your passion.
If you are in school for a profession specializing in this, it would absolutely be a part of your training that you all go there.
you would think Engine would have some kind of intern school.
Yeah.
or at the very least, she stops. She doesn't pay for tuition 1 year just so she can go to Jurassic Park and actually see these dinosaurs that she's obsessed with.
I don't know. I mean, I know plenty of people that went to college and don't use their degree for jack squat. So
Pretty much everybody.
yeah, it doesn't break my lore for this movie to consider that like, hey, she went to college. Maybe she went to college when Jurassic
I'm
World
just saying
was like.
it was an odd choice for the writers in terms of her character to make her so obsessed with dinosaurs and have this very specialized,
And to also
profession.
not know enough about dinosaurs. Like she was doing a lot of blood type guessing. Like you're a vet specifically for dinosaurs, and you were like, I think this might work. Why don't we try it? You
Well, they
should
had to have
know.
somebody
You
that
are
was-
a
Yeah,
vet.
like if she was just a regular vet and she was guessing when trying to help these dinosaurs, that would have made sense.
That would have made sense. She's a specific dinosaur veterinarian. She's like, let's give it a whirl.
She's not an expert. She's just
She's
a college
veterinarian
student. She's a college student.
for dinosaurs. And she was like,
College student.
it might work.
Yeah, but that made more sense for was it a blood transfusion?
Yeah.
On the boat?
Yeah.
So it was like, we can't have a regular, like horse doctor. Well, maybe we need to do a blood transfusion for these reptiles because I'm a horse doctor, but I don't know anything I don't know how to do dinosaurs.
She was like, anything with.
It wouldn't have been any more ridiculous.
She was like, any dinosaur with 2 legs, and the only other dinosaur with 2 legs is the freaking T-Rex.
no,
No.
It was
It
three
had
fingers.
It had to be I thought it had to be carnivorous.
Yeah, carnivorous dinosaur
Yeah.
with a bipedal carnivorous dinosaur.
with 3 fingers,
maybe 2.
maybe 2.
It's definitely an odd choice. I can't argue with that, but I just rationalized it in my head.
Instead of that tech guy, I really wanted them to bring back Nick.
Oh,
Like,
that would've been
I think
awesome.
Nick would have been perfect
He
for
would have
that,
been perfect
that
for
role.
this. Yeah.
I loved his character in the first movie.
I can agree with that. Yeah, instead of Franklin.
I didn't know he was
Nick-
coming back.
He's coming back for the
That's
third
cool.
one.
But you know what's funny? It's just like how blatantly they ripped off Lost World for this movie.
Yeah.
Well,
It's
that's
like
what
almost
they were
beat for,
supposed to do.
it's almost beat for beat
Mm-hmm.
the exact same movie. Like Buffalo Bill, I forget his name.
Yeah, the
Great White
Great White
Commander
Hunter.
Wheatley or something.
Yeah.
I thought that was the same actor.
Yeah,
No, it's a different guy.
Well, it was the exact same character,
Yeah.
from Lost World, and also the smarmy, henchman for Engine, the guy who's not John Hammond's assistant.
For the uncle character.
Yeah, he's the exact same character
this
as
is
the
the same-
nephew from Jurassic.
This is the same
World.
movie. It just they had to do it
Yeah.
so that they could set up the next movie.
We haven't even talked about the clone chick yet.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was a weird. I don't know why
Yeah.
they decided to do that.
Can I tell you my notes
Yeah, go ahead.
as I was watching this? I made notes.
Okay.
And I'd like for you to go through what I went through.
Okay. It's freaking aliens,
Okay.
man.
Fallen Kingdom.
Oh boy.
Part 1.
This is Lost World.
Yep.
Correct.
The paleo vet is doing a lot of guessing of blood types for a paleo vet. And she never thought she'd see one? I hate when sequels introduce a new character as if they've always been around.
Who's that?
Not John Hammond.
Old man.
Oh, that's Lockwood. Okay, that's a
yeah.
deep cut from the books.
Why are they weirdly not letting this girl see what her mother looked like?
Because she's a clone.
She is her mother.
She is her mother.
I just want you to listen. I don't want you to fix me.
She's writing.
Speed it up then. Speed it up.
She was writing these as she was.
As I was watching it, I was
I'm
reading it.
answering them as
All right.
I'm hearing them.
Yeah.
How was Bro planning on getting away with this? Was he always planning to murder Old Man? And was no one alerted to Old Man's vitals? And the money manager is the child's guardian? And then my final note is the army guy walking in yelling for his bonus reminded me of the kid from Better Off Dead yelling for his $2. Those are my notes.
I want my $2.
I want my $2.
How did Lockwood find out about because when his granddaughter kind of came in to tell him about all the shady shit?
Yeah, and he was like, surely you must be mistaken. And then next scene, he's like, how dare you?
She didn't even tell him. He was just like, go to bed. And so she left without telling him anything. And then the next scene that he's in, where he's confronting the guy, he suddenly knows everything about what's been happening. I almost think it would have been more interesting if Lockwood was the ultimate villain, like this was his brainchild to capture these dinosaurs and sell them on the black market. I think that would have been a more interesting twist than what we got.
I could have accepted that. That would have been cool.
Yeah, and that poor old man, I feel like he thought he had more power than he did because he did everything just one-on-one with this guy. And he was like, you're going to call the police. And he was like, I'm just going to fucking kill you.
Yeah, why was he like, you call the police on yourself?
Yeah.
That's the dumbest.
Lame.
That's the dumbest strategy.
Oh, okay, I'll go ahead and call the police on myself.
It's a senile old man. What can I say?
Bless.
But Lockwood is a character that's been around since the first book. However, it was said in the first book that he died of cancer. So they kind of resurrected that character. I'm assuming the only reason they did that was because the actor who plays John Hammond isn't around anymore, so they couldn't have John Hammond be the character.
But also, like, you know, they basically wanted John Hammond, so like they made him look as much like John Hammond as well. They even gave him John Hammond's cane.
The cane.
The same cane. They had matching canes because they were the ones. But it's all
Twinsy.
Twinsies.
It's like a best friend cane.
It does make sense as far as like a book reader goes. It's kind of like a deep cut from the lore of the books of like, this character Lockwood, who was partners with John Hammond early on in the creation of these genetic dinosaurs. Like, it's all there.
But you know what's crazy to me is like, so you have this big convoluted plot about selling dinosaurs
so that they could fund the new project of making another Indoraptor. Is that what the money was for?
I don't know exactly what the money was for. I just know that like
it was to take over the world.
To take over.
The thing is
what
like,
are we going to take today, Brian?
What do you need all this money for? Money.
The thing is like, if you want money, so like they succeeded in human cloning.
Mm-hmm. But nobody knows about it, though.
The profit potential for human cloning in terms of like cloning people's organs for like organ replacement, like the medical applications for that, bringing back like people who've died, stuff,
SIDS.
Like the profit potential for the human cloning stuff is way bigger than the dinosaur stuff. Yeah. So like, why weren't they exploiting that?
I'm pretty sure because the pushback on that would be huge. Like dinosaurs already exist.
They don't seem to care about pushback, dude.
No,
they're running a black market on, can you imagine how many rich people out there would need like a heart transplant or liver transplant and would give their entire fortune to like have a cloned liver that they wouldn't reject?
Yeah.
This
is called The Island.
I'm pretty sure we can do that in the real world already anyway. They're just not
telling us. I think it's already exists.
We'll talk about that with
I'm just saying that whole human cloning aspect kind of,
negates
puts a big plot hole in the movie in terms of like their motivation for wanting these dinosaurs. Like everything about this movie story is very contrived to me, and I think that's its biggest issue, is that it is contrived, and it feels like all these plot elements were put in there because the people making the movie needed them there in order to tell the story the way that they wanted it to end up.
It's the Indoraptor, right?
Yeah.
So it's a trained killer.
Yeah.
That they point a rifle barrel with a trigger at somebody, right?
I knew you guys were going to bring this up.
So why don't they just shoot the dude instead of having...
So I prepared for this.
Oh, did you?
Yes.
Please.
It's stated.
Do you have your dossier?
In this movie. Not like a book lore fandom like headcanon. So it's in the movie.
It's too hard to shoot somebody?
It's in the movie that this is a very early like concept of what we can do. This is not the final product. It's not like, well, if I point this gun at this guy and aim the laser, it's going to kill him. Like, that's like the first step. Like, okay, here's the concept. Can we somehow target somebody specific and have this animal attack that person? Yes, that's the answer. We can do that. Okay, cool. Now let's take this further.
They shouldn't have done the laser with a gun. For the movie, they should have just had like a laser hand pointer with no gun to make their point. Because now everybody's like, "Why don't you just shoot him?"
But also the weird part is they were not supposed to auction off the Indoraptor.
Yeah,
right.
That was like,
money.
They were just kind of showing it off, and then people started bidding on it, and they're like, "Oh, okay, I guess."
Yeah, the evil Russian guy,
but,
20 million.
Yeah, but
greed.
Dr. what's his name? Dr. Wu specifically comes out. And he's like, "This is a prototype.
It's
dangerous."
Nope.
And he's just like, "I'm going to sell it anyway."
Yeah, because he's an idiot.
You can make more.
Blinded by greed. That's the whole. That's the whole point of that guy's character.
But also the whole motivation to get Blue was so that they could imprint on a new version of this to make it even more
safer. Basically, they're trying to make a safer version of the Indoraptor, and they needed Blue's genetic material because she was the only one that was able to interact with humans on a like level basis.
Well, then we had to have it escape.
Of course.
So we could, do the typical
and
20 minutes of every...
This is the best part of the movie.
And every whole, Jurassic Park movie.
The whole thing about the guy going into the cage to get the tooth. Talk about contrived. Talk about contrived. Oh, my God. It's like, okay, we need to get the Indoraptor to escape somehow. What's the dumbest way we could possibly do that?
Oh, that's a cool looking dinosaur. I want that guy's tooth.
And I was like, somebody just paid $28 million for that dinosaur, and you're just gonna roll up on it and start taking its teeth.
He doesn't know that. He wasn't in the room.
That's not your dinosaur.
He wasn't in the room.
That's a $30 million dinosaur. Put the tooth back, you idiot.
I think $30 million is kind of a low price, right?
I don't know.
Per dinosaur?
I guess it
It's
would
the
depend.
only one.
Well, do you remember what the number that they started with was?
We'll
like
make
$4 million.
more.
Like $4 million for this one dinosaur, and then as the auction got up and the prices started jacking up to like $20 million a piece, $14 million a piece. It was pretty crazy.
I've seen.
I don't know.
They had a painting go for like $200 million a couple weeks
also,
ago.
I have a real issue with how they were conducting that auction. Typically,
Yeah, what was with that leaderboard?
well, typically you would keep the dinosaurs in a controlled environment and then like show video of them to talk about what you're doing, so like the auctioneers would be safe. This whole thing about putting them in a cage and rolling them out into the middle of the room,
It's like the catwalk.
it was so bizarre.
I don't know. I don't think a video of the dinosaur would be as impactful.
I really wanted to see like a scene where like the dinosaur was in the room, but the room was filled with like these television monitors.
Oh, screens of people.
With these guys in black shrouds that you can't see their faces are bidding on the dinosaurs. These evil people,
Like eyes wide shut.
I was just going to say that.
like the from what's the Legion of Evil from Venture Brothers? They're all behind the screens with the black hoods and stuff.
Yeah.
But, whatever.
Fire. I don't know. I didn't have an issue with that. I thought, greed makes people do dumb things all the time. And I thought the auctioning of like the animals, like showing the animals up front and closer is just a ploy to get more money out of people, to like the shock and awe kind of thing. So that didn't bother me. And rolling out the Indoraptor was another just shock and awe. Like, look what else we have under the curtain.
This is a secret preview.
Yeah.
Get in now.
Yeah. So it's like
Order
This
yours
is what
now.
you can get for the next evil Legion of Evil auction that we'll have.
It's like Elon Musk rolling up his new Cybertruck, and he throws a piece of throws a ball at it and breaks the window, and he's like, well, that didn't work out. It's the same thing. They roll out the Indoraptor, like, look what we have, and then it escapes and eats everybody.
Call 1-8884-RAPTOR. That's 1-8884-RAPTOR to order yours now.
Can you also explain the part to me where, okay, so Owen and Claire are in one of these trucks, and they're in a convoy going from the ship to the mansion, that's transporting like the dinosaurs there. And in the dark with full headlights on, a character that we've never seen before, or if we have, he wasn't important enough to introduce, somehow sees them driving by through the windshield and contacts Great White Hunter that somehow they're still alive and they're part of this convoy, specifically so Great White Hunter can capture them. Like, can you explain to me who that guy was and how he was able to recognize them?
I can't remember that specific scene unless he was part of the crew. There's
literally a shot where like
was he one of the guys that was on the main transport that when they saw the Brachiosaurus at the visitor?
I don't know
center?
because I didn't recognize him.
Okay, he might have been one of those guys. I can't remember what his face looked like, but if he was probably on,
and it's funny because they show a shot of him like reacting as like the car drives by. I'm like, it's night with headlights flashing in your face. And they're driving by at 20, 30 miles an hour. It's like, how do you see them?
Maybe he had that raptor smell.
It's plot contrivances that just drive me crazy.
When a hot redhead is on your transport and you're like, hey, look at her. And then later you see her again.
Like,
you're
oh,
like,
shit, she wants this.
I don't know, man. I have to look at the guy because he might have been
She's so thirsty.
I hear she can run in heels.
Ooh, I love me a woman that can run in heels.
Which she was in combat boots this entire movie. Just going to say that.
She learned
They
her
made
lesson.
it a point to show that.
Yeah, they did. I think in the next movie they should definitely make it a point to make sure everybody knows what kind of shoes Claire is wearing in the third movie.
Kind of a funny little inside
Yeah,
joke.
I think
inside
we're
joke.
going to definitely see like a dude running in heels.
Well, did you ever see I think it was either Conan or it was like Colbert or something like that, where Chris Pratt put on high heels and tried to run just like Bryce Dallas Howard did. And he was like, this is hard, man.
Yeah, well,
To be
he's
honest
not
with you
great at
guys-
choreography anyway.
I don't see how any woman can even walk in those things.
Yeah.
And
Tell me
I've seen women that go to these clubs and stuff here in Vegas that got these like
Stilettos.
stilettos,
With the
6-inch. Yeah. And I'm like, how do they even put them on their foot?
And
Much
they're
less
out there dancing in the
walk
dance
and
floor.
stuff.
Why don't we ask our
Cocaine.
ambassador of estrogen how that works?
How do you wear heels, Jude?
Cocaine makes it done.
I know
Feel nothing.
I know my daughter, she always has a pair of flats in her purse
Just in case?
because the heels never last
Yeah.
the entire night. But I don't know.
It
Just one of those
depends.
things.
It depends on the shoe. If you're wearing a good shoe that's made well, it doesn't bother your foot as much. If you're wearing a cheap shoe, then yeah, they're awful on your feet. And also, if you've been wearing heels your entire life, then your feet are kind of like mangled enough that they don't really get sore. If you're like the girl who wears tennis shoes all the time and then you slip on a pair of heels to go out one night, you're not going to last the night.
Look like a baby giraffe,
Yeah.
just kind of walking
Yeah.
around, your
So
knees buckling.
like her heels didn't bother me because she was clearly that woman that wore heels all the time.
Yeah.
I used to work with a girl that she was more comfortable in heels than she was in anything else. And she just wore them all the time for 10-hour days. And that was just what she was comfortable in. So it didn't bother me that she was wearing heels. It didn't bother me that she was running in them. I felt like it would have been at least a good scene to acknowledge that she was wearing heels. So I felt like a Romancing the Stone scene where they addressed that would have been nice for the fans, I think, so that it didn't bother as many people. But me specifically, didn't bother me.
Didn't bother me either.
Me neither.
Do you have any other problems with this movie?
Well, let's talk about the clone girl.
Yeah. I don't know. This might be a tough one for me because I don't understand why they went this direction, but go ahead.
Yeah, I felt like it was weird.
It was
They were just weird and creepy through the whole thing, trying to like.
It was also
Bury
weird
the
how they
lead.
revealed it.
Yeah.
Where the guy is like, "Do you even know what she is?"
Yeah.
And it's just like, okay, she's a
Yeah.
clone.
Who cares?
She's a little girl.
Yeah.
You know, but like at the very end where Claire makes the very brave decision to let the dinosaurs die because she knows the ramifications of letting them out, and then all of a sudden that little girl just hits the button. She's like, "They're alive like me."
And they're like, okay.
It's just like, do you know how many people you just killed?
Yeah.
Kids do dumb things, man. What can I say?
Yeah. Don't turn your back on the giant red button and also the clone girl.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Like that whole decision-making process of like having a little girl be like, I have to because they're alive. Like there was just a cringy line to begin with, but
Yeah.
just the idea of like,
She's a mass murderer now.
yeah, she's responsible. That was a heavy responsibility that she just took on by doing that.
Also, like, do you remember her nanny?
Yes.
Iris.
That the guy dismissed, and she was like, "You can't dismiss me. Like, I've raised this girl. She's basically my daughter." And she disappears from the movie. And then at the end, I guess Claire and Owen just adopt her, and
They just take her.
yeah, and this woman who's basically her mother is just like
She's dead.
Like the girl's just like, "Oh, I guess I'm with you now."
Yeah.
She dies.
Super weird.
She's dead. They cut out. I don't know why they cut. I think it would have been fantastic to have this scene in the movie, but she gets eaten by the Indoraptor. It's a cut scene that a scene that they filmed that they never ended up in the movie.
Oh,
But
that's
she's dead.
interesting.
Yeah.
But
Again,
if it wasn't in the movie, it's not
yeah,
canon.
like I can't argue with that. It is. It's weird. She just kind of disappears. Like I mean, as far as the movie is concerned, it kind of
Speaking-
makes it like she just kind of like got in her car and
It's
drove
going to
away.
be in the Trevorrow cut.
There you go.
Speaking of things that got cut, one of the interesting things about this was like the paleo veterinarian girl
Mm-hmm.
in the original cut, like it was like she was very vocal about being a lesbian.
What, in the movie?
Yes, they cut out scenes where she was like, you know,
Oh, they cut scenes.
Yeah,
Okay.
I actually remember hearing something a little
Yeah, I
bit
do
about
too
that.
now.
and the reason they cut it out was because you can't have gay characters play in Chinese cinema. The censors won't allow it. So they decided to neuter her, like this aspect of her character, so like the movie could play in the Chinese box office.
I think it's pretty obvious anyway.
It's never stated though.
It's never stated, but it's implied.
And it was a big part of her character.
Yeah.
And they were kind of talking about it before the movie released too. And then the last minute just took it all out because they wanted that Chinese money.
Well, I don't think that's going to have as much of a bearing on future movies anymore. Like,
well, I just want to mention it because it's Pride Month. And
is it?
It is, right?
Oh, it's Dinosaur Month.
You know, like taken as a whole, the movie's not that bad. Like it's something that you can sit down and watch and enjoy yourself with. But when you really start to dig into it, it's a very problematic film.
I gave it my first impression when I looked back on my Instagram when the movie first came out. I posted a review of it, and it was like I think I gave it like a 6 out of 10. Like it wasn't that high. It wasn't my favorite one at all. And I think a lot of the problems that I had with it were more of like at the end of the movie when everybody was running away from this like super intelligent hybrid Indoraptor thing, and it just keeps getting fooled into not knowing where they are. And I'm like, how do they keep hiding from this thing if it's like super intelligent? And then the other thing too, one of the things that always bugs me about these movies, and it's consistent, so it's a thing that happens in every single movie, even from the first one till now, is like dinosaurs are conveniently sneaky when they need to be, and then obviously like announced when they need to be. It's like the Indoraptor, this huge like
open indoors
2,000-pound thing and whatever, it's breaking through these metal grates and this, you know, it's breaking through glass and this, but this little girl closes a wooden door, can't get through it. I'm like, what? Like there's moments like that. And then with the T-Rex is basically a ninja in this movie, right? Like almost every other time when the plot wants it to be, the big boom, you know, you get the ripples in the water, the T-Rex is coming. But in this movie, this thing shows up like out of nowhere, like 7 times.
I was telling Jude when what's his name, the smarmy uncle guy dies at the end.
Yeah, no indication whatsoever.
Like the T-Rex just comes out of frame and clamps its mouth on him and kills him. And it's just like, you know, he'd have seen that.
You know what's funny is that
he couldn't have snuck up on him.
What I thought was interesting about that scene is kind of dumb is that they tried to trick you because there's a Carnosaurus in the background, the one with the little horns. It's in the background, like way out of focus. You can see it moving around, and you're like, oh, the Carnosaurus is going to see him, and it's going to eat him. And then, like, it tricks you into thinking that, and then all of a sudden the T-Rex just comes in and chomps him, and you're like, what? Where did that come from?
So we wanted to ask you, so Jude and I went frame by frame through these T-Rex scenes. So we know that the T-Rex in Fallen Kingdom is the same T-Rex from Jurassic World.
Yes,
I believe you call her Rexy.
It's Rexy, yeah.
So we went back to Jurassic Park to look at, because in Jurassic World, Rexy has scars already on one side of her face. And then she gets new scars when she fights the Indominus Rex. So she's all scarred up by the time we get to Fallen Kingdom. But we didn't see where she got her initial scars in the first movie. So we were wondering, is this really the same T-Rex from Jurassic Park?
Yeah, the first movie, it's on her, I guess it would be on her left side, on her jaw and her neck, where the raptors were climbing on top of her.
Actually, it's on her right side is where the scars...
It switches.
Yeah. Does it switch?
Yeah.
Well, the Indominus Rex was the one who gave her the scars on the left side.
Yes.
Because her left side was facing up when she was pinned down. But in Jurassic Park, we couldn't find the scene where she got those scars from the raptors. It's like we didn't see the raptors scratch her or anything.
Oh, it's at the very end, like right before
we looked at that scene.
The last one where she grabs it by the tail.
That's on the wrong side.
She grabs it by the tail and then rips it and throws it into the skeleton. That's when it scratches her neck, and that's when she gets those initial scars.
We went through it with a fine-tooth comb. We put it on slow-mo.
I can't say that for 20 some odd years they've been 100% accurate with where the scars are located. So I don't know. Maybe there are a couple instances where they get switched, or maybe the scene gets mirrored. Maybe I'm sure the images on the internet are probably mirrored in some way if somebody takes a picture of it. And
I was also wondering. So the way they transport the T-Rex in this movie, I'm like, why didn't they do that the exact same way in Lost World? because
Instead of the cargo hold?
Yeah, well, she's in the cargo hold, but you'd think, okay, if they have her tranked, why wouldn't she be in like some type of confined cage that would keep her from, rampaging out? Like, how did that whole ship massacre?
Listen, nobody survived that. We can't ask them.
We talked about that last week. It's just so bad. There's no answers to that question.
Vader's going to freak out.
God damn it.
I want to say, though, that is one of my favorite scenes in this entire movie is the animatronic get the blood from the T-Rex scene. I freaking love that scene. I think it's just seeing the full-size animatronic T-Rex with Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard like in the same shot in this little confined space.
I do like that point where his face ends up right against her, and he pulls it away, and it's just like super stringy, mucusy.
He's like,
so gross.
I do like that scene, but it's such a it felt so shoehorned in there. They were like, we need to have a scene with like the T-Rex in here, and it felt like one of those scenes that was there just because they wanted to put it in there rather than feeling necessary to the plot. I don't know.
No.
I mean, like I said, there's nothing wrong with the scene. It was like a fun scene to watch. It bugged me because it felt shoehorned in.
I think this movie just bugs you.
It really does.
That's all right. That's all right.
So there's 5 movies total, not including Battle at Big Rock?
Yeah.
Not including that one. So favorite to least favorite, where would you go?
I did this the other day on Twitter. I think I put out my rankings. Of course, the first one, number 1. I don't think that anybody can argue with that. I honestly, want to say that Jurassic World is probably number 2, followed very, very closely with number 3, and then Fallen Kingdom, and then The Lost World, I think is how I would rank them. And I'm going to get a lot of shit from that because people love The Lost World.
I will.
And
I will agree with that ranking.
I would
approve that
go
ranking.
1, 4, 5, 2, 3.
Okay.
That's what I would do.
I would say 1, 4, and then 3 and 5 are kind of tied for me, and then 2.
Right on. All right, guys, before we get on to our next, we're going to talk about Battle at Big Rock. I just wanted to remind everybody that you guys can support the podcast. Go to saltynerdpodcast.com. That will take you directly to whatever podcast platform that you prefer, whether you're an Android user or an iPhone user. You can go there, subscribe. Don't forget to leave a review for us. We really appreciate it. 5 stars, 3 stars. I don't care. Just leave a review. Let us know what you think of the podcast.
No 1 stars.
I care.
We want 1 stars. I don't care. Just give us stars, something. Just somewhere along the lines.
5 stars or go home.
Give us.
What?
We'll talk about it later.
No, go ahead. Give us 5 stars.
Give us 5 stars. We'll send you a sticker.
There you go.
There you go.
Give us 5 stars. We'll send you a
And
sticker.
let us know that you did it so we can check it out, and we'll get a hold of you and we'll send you some stuff.
Exactly. You
And
can contact us
join our
on
Patreon so you could be a saltine.
Salty.
Salty.
Give us 5 stars. We'll contact you.
SaltyNerdClub.com.
Make sure you contact us on Twitter. I'm at salty_nerd. You can hit me up. You can even DM me. I think my DMs are open to public. So just DM me and say, hey, I'll give you a 5-star review. I'll send you a sticker and some cool stuff. Appreciate it. And thanks for the support. Now, let's talk about this awesome 8-minute short, which honestly might be the best part of the sequels so far. Battle at Big Rock. Colin Trevorrow did a short film in the forest somewhere in England. It was in between shooting for the third movie. It was like a big hubbub. They made a big deal about it, and all, the fandom was on fire. We're like, yes, we're getting like this nice little treat in between waiting for these 2 movies.
Is this supposed to be a teaser for what's coming?
I think it was more of a technology test, right? Just to see what it looks like.
Maybe, because I know they used a lot of the CGI, like some more advanced CGI in this movie, but in this short film, but they also used an animatronic Allosaurus, which was, and they mixed the 2. They used the animatronic one, but then they kind of like masked it with some CGI and kind of meshed the 2 together. And I think it came out friggin' fantastic. But this, it does kind of fill a gap. It kind of explains what happened after the second movie, or after the 5th movie, I guess, and where the dinosaurs went, because there's a couple lines of dialogue in this one, in the short film, where they're like, oh, did you hear about what happened down south or whatever? Like they're assuming that they're in California and they're north of where the castle was.
Give me the 30-second breakdown of what happens in this thing.
These people are camping in a camp zone somewhere in Northern California, and
It's like a trailer park camp.
Yeah,
right.
you
It's
could
more
say
like
that,
more
yeah.
of like a community.
But there's like a bonfire and stuff like that, so it's more of like a outdoory camping than it
yeah,
is a
but
trailer
I
park.
got the sense that it was more of a community. Like shit went bad in America, so they just created this community.
I don't think it's been that long.
No? Oh, okay.
No. It's only been weeks. I think a few weeks because they said it in the movie. They said like,
Okay.
"Oh, did you hear what happened a few weeks ago down
The 30
south?"
seconds is up.
She distracted me.
Sorry.
Anyway, so they're camping in this area, and because of what happened in the movie, where these dinosaurs got released into the wild, now these people kind of come in contact with dinosaurs on the regular, and they're like, "Oh shit, there's freaking dinosaurs roaming just like out in public, and there's nothing to stop them from just killing people." And that's what happens. Is they find this Pseudoceratops family, a male, female, and a baby, and then this Allosaurus comes in because it's hungry and it wants to eat, and it starts to attack them.
Yeah,
And
but
the humans were
dinosaurs
just-
have the battle.
Yeah, and the humans were just kind of like
And they're
Collateral
in the way.
damage.
Yeah, collateral
yeah.
damage.
All right.
And I loved it. Like if we had a whole movie of like something like this along these lines, I'm down because I felt like this was more true to like you don't have to be good or bad to be in danger of dinosaurs. It's just kind of like they're there, and if you are in the way, they're going to eat you. And I also feel like this is more true to just like nature. Like this is what we see in the real world: lions and zebras eating, and stuff like that, and crocodiles eating people. It's
I will
it
say,
just happens.
I will say it was a very good short film, and Colin Trevorrow, I think, like he got his start doing like short films that led to him getting a feature. But he this is a textbook example of how to write a really good short film. Like everything that you needed to do in the story was done. Everything was set up. It was properly paid off. You got really good characterization in a very short period of time. You got like the scenario. Basically, like it was just a perfectly written short film, in my opinion. It was really good.
I loved it.
Perfectly written.
Perfectly written
Copy.
from Matthew Kadish.
Yeah, that is the stamp of approval.
Damn.
Gets an A on his paper.
Damn.
That's good.
Yeah, so if Colin Trevorrow can just stick to short films instead of features, might be pretty good.
Shots fired.
No, it just needs to, take these things and stretch out the ideas a little bit. Because honestly, like I said, if they had a movie, full length movie that's just basically this Battle at Big Rock, I'm down. That was awesome. I freaking loved it, and I love there was a moment in this short film where I legitimately thought a dinosaur was going to eat a baby.
Yep.
I was like,
Yeah.
holy shit!
Yeah. Like, no.
I was honestly
It's
scared.
happening.
For a minute, I was like, they're going to do it. Holy shit, they're going to do it.
It's
And
like, put your hand over that baby's mouth.
I loved how at the beginning, the father was kind of scolding the girl for playing with a crossbow.
Yeah.
And then at the end, it's that girl with that crossbow that saves them from being eaten.
Yep. Set up and pay off.
Set up and pay off.
It was perfect.
Yep.
Hey man, don't be teaching my daughter how to shoot your crossbow. Like it's so funny because it goes off as like a funny side moment.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's
Yeah.
just
And like immediately before shit goes bad.
yeah.
And it's funny because that actor was from Castle Rock, that Hulu show. Remember him?
Not from that, no.
He was the main character in the first season.
Oh.
And I was just like, oh, he heard the schism
Yes.
and the dinosaurs came through.
Anyway, what did you think about this? You watched it a couple weeks ago, right?
Yeah, a few weeks ago.
Did you like it?
Yeah, it was fun. Dinosaur fight. I kind of like the part at the end where they showed the dinosaurs on the freeway.
Oh, the little viral videos.
And the
Yeah.
thing in the ocean, and yeah. I like
It's
that kind of
funny. I
stuff.
didn't know that they were real viral videos that they just inserted dinosaurs into.
Yep. Yep. They took viral videos from the internet that were all over the place from different types of things that happened, and they just dubbed in.
Nice.
CGI
I
dinosaurs.
wish theaters would, or these movie people would put more stuff like that out.
Really?
Just fun stuff.
Oh,
that
like
people
little short
us-
films and stuff?
Yeah, people like us can eat up and talk about and have some fun with.
Well, that's the thing. Like,
Yeah.
I want to talk about Colin and his like. You can say what you want about the films, criticize them. They're not perfect. I don't think anybody thinks they are. But like his action as a director who's in charge of this franchise and his interaction with the fan base is just phenomenal. Like, I have no complaints about the guy at all. He's so cool. He even answered a handful of my tweets, which it's like rare that
He
that ever
does
happens.
seem
so
very
your
hands-on.
boyfriend.
It's really cool. And
Yeah.
I think he respects the fan base. I know there was a story from when he was first making Jurassic World. He wanted to have a moment where the Indominus takes down, when you go to like the actual Universal Studios here in California, and they have like the animatronic dinosaurs that kind of move around and stuff.
I've never been there.
Never?
Not this one, no.
Dude, you need to go.
No.
He wanted to have a moment where the Indominus Rex like rips down one of the animatronic dinosaurs, and Spielberg was like, fans aren't going to like that, right? And he's like, what? Why? He's like, because they love animatronic dinosaurs. And if you have your CGI dinosaur eat an animatronic dinosaur, they're going to flip. And he's like, oh, I better not do that then. And the thing is, like, I know that he caught some criticism with the two movies, of course, as every director does, but his response to that is like, I love it. They hold my feet to the fire and hold me responsible for mistakes, and I learn from it, and I try to be better the next time.
He actually respects their opinions, even if he doesn't agree with them. Like he hears them.
Yeah,
that's more than you can say for a lot of filmmakers nowadays.
Yeah. So I stand Colin Trevorrow.
I think they've got a good niche here. Every single kid in the world, at least everyone that I've known, we all go through our dinosaur phase.
Yeah.
So it's like,
I got stuck.
Who doesn't want to see dinosaurs?
I got fossilized in my dinosaur moment. Couldn't get out of it. But yeah, Katie, you said it was perfectly written, which blew my mind. Jude, what did you think about Battle at Big Rock?
Oh, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good little film.
Yeah. Did you find, I was talking about the moment where I thought the baby was going to get eaten. Like, did you feel like there was more horror in this than any of the other sequels movies?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it was darker.
Yeah.
And I wasn't sure what was going to happen. I didn't know about the rules of people have to have it coming.
Such a bullshit rule.
Yeah. I thought it was a well-rounded film, and I thought it was set a little bit more in the future. I didn't catch that it was only a few weeks later, and I thought that it was like, oh, it's just during a time where these dinosaurs are roaming wild, and they are just a part of our nature now. And I thought that whole little thing that the little girl was talking about, like, oh no, that's a thisosaur, and it's a thatasaur. I thought that was like part of their education now. Like, they're teaching children about the do's and the don'ts with living with these things. And I just got the sense that it was more of like this is how people are living now in these communities.
I really like how the film kind of ramps up, because it's at the beginning, it's just this little camping community, and the dad's grilling some chicken, and he's like, oh, like he burns the chicken, but he's like, oh, it's charred on the outside but juicy on the inside, and it's just kind of like a very nice slice of normal life.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden, like, all the neighbors disappear, and they're like, like, hey, where are our neighbors? And then you see like the dinosaurs, and they're like, oh. But then it's like, oh wait, okay, they're herbivores, they're harmless. And then like, oh no, the carnivore shows up, but oh, they're just fighting each other. And then like, oh.
The moment where the baby cries and alerts the Allosaurus, I was like...
And then shit gets real.
Oh,
shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
And when the baby is still strapped into his chair after like the trailer gets flipped over.
That was terrible.
And everyone is like kind of unconscious, and the baby's still crying, and the dinosaur's trying to get to it. You're just like, oh my God.
Give me freaking anxiety just thinking about it, man. That is such a hard thing to watch.
I mean, honestly, as a parent, and this is the first thing I thought was like, when the Allosaurus, when that one showed up, my first instinct as a parent would have been to grab that baby and put my hand over his mouth before it started crying.
Yeah. I don't know that baby.
But I guess they needed that.
Whatever sound effect or whatever sound, they used for the baby cry. I don't know if it's just, it was actually recorded.
Piercing.
It was that oh shit cry.
Yeah.
I've heard that cry once or twice before. It's not a good cry. We can talk about Jurassic World Dominion, which is the third movie that's going to be coming out. And I really hope that Battle at Big Rock is kind of like a taste of what's to come, because you're talking about the idea of like, well, this is just normal life now. There's dinosaurs and we have to be aware of it, and they're out in public. I'm like, please make that the whole movie, because it was amazing.
I thought it was a good perspective on a new film.
Yeah.
Let's not have it in a park again. We're beyond that.
Well, we know Alan Grant, Ellie, and Malcolm are all coming back.
In significant roles, they said.
That's great.
Yeah. So, and that's another thing too with the fandom is like, Colin Trevorrow was like, I'm not going to bring these legacy characters back one by one and just kill them off. He was like, such a slight to Lucasfilm for bringing them. I was like, yeah. Take it to them, man. It's like, they fired me, so I'm just going to throw some shade their way. It was awesome. Like, I know I'm confident that like they're going to have a good reason for being there. Like, it's not just like, of course there is the outside meta view of like, yeah, these are legacy characters. We want to see them in the film one last time, yada, yada, yada. But I really hope that he knows enough not to just shoehorn him in there. I feel like
they did in the second movie.
Ooh.
Well, Ian Malcolm was very much shoehorn. Like remember before Fallen Kingdom came out, they were making a big deal about Ian Malcolm's back. Ian Malcolm, he's in like 2 scenes for 3 seconds.
Yeah, he's in the courthouse.
Yeah, they Luke Skywalkered him.
Yeah.
Actually, they got more of him than they got of Luke Skywalker.
Yeah, but they made a big deal about bringing him back, and he was in the most insignificant role. Like you could have cut him out of that movie; it wouldn't have made a difference.
Yeah.
No, I disagree, but he's the voice of reason. He was at least he was consistent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can say that.
Yeah.
Like he was the voice. Like no,
I
let them
appreciate
die.
that.
The thing is, though, he didn't need to be in that movie.
Yeah.
He did not have a important role to play.
It was a cool cameo.
I don't need.
Yeah, I'm not saying it wasn't a cool cameo. I'm just saying that it was very poorly handled. If you're bringing back a legacy character like that, do it better than they did in Ghostbusters 2016.
Is he coming back for the next one?
Yeah, I don't know how much of a role he's going to have because of all the characters, Ian Malcolm would be the one who's like done with dinosaurs, right?
Yeah. And that's one character I don't need for him to have an arc. I feel like he's so rigidly who he is, and I want him to stay consistent.
I would love him to say one line. God, I hate being right all the time. Like if he says that, because like it's exactly what happened, or exactly what he said was going to happened. I would love for him to say that line.
Life finds a
way.
I want him to come in with a 20-year-old wife.
Yeah, some hot piece,
some hot little girl.
She's just like a friend of his daughter's.
That'd be awesome. Kadish, what do you think they're going to do with this third movie? Seeing that Colin Trevorrow has like. This was the movie that he's been really wanting this to make, this one where dinosaurs are in the wild.
Well, whatever they do, it's probably going to be like the military acting evil, trying to kill all these dinosaurs, and then you'll have a ragtag group of dinosaur lovers who are like, we have to protect the dinosaurs from the military.
And they will be very multiculturally diverse.
Yes, stunning and brave. I don't know. I think that, like you said, Battle at Big Rock is a taste of what we're going to get, where like the dinosaurs are out and they're claiming dominion over the planet again, and it's going to be humanity versus dinosaurs. I know that Trevorrow specifically said that the first 3 Jurassic Park movies were kind of about playing God, and the next 3 are going to be about the consequences of doing so. And so like we're going to see in Dominion probably the full-blown consequences of dinosaurs being let loose on the earth again.
I hope it's like Planet of the Apes, where humanity just like gets thrashed.
That would be in the trilogy after this one.
Oh, okay. I'm down for that.
Yeah, Jurassic Universe.
I don't want like super intelligent, like smart dinosaurs, like the apes became more and more human and they could start talking. I don't want that. But
no.
I'm like,
I want half human, half dinosaur.
No, I don't want that.
Bunch of dinosaurs sitting around playing poker.
I want that painting right behind me. No, but I'm saying like I want like if humanity by releasing all these dinosaurs into the wild, and like I would love it if some like prehistoric disease just wipes out most of humanity, and like all that's left is like a small percentage of human beings, and
like
they're outnumbered. Yes, except for they can actually see. And they would have to, it's like the numbers reverse, right? There's more dinosaurs than humans. Like I think that idea would be really freaking cool.
I'm picturing something a little bit more role reversal than we've seen before. Like so far what we've seen is like the military trying to get these dinosaurs and create them to be weapons. So I'm picturing something that's much more like dinosaurs have taken over and now the military has to come in to fix the problem. I picture like the elite, they have like their pet dinosaurs that they've domesticated. Or like servant dinosaurs. They're like, oh, let's have Rexy come in and serve us drinks. And it's like, it like walks in, it's got the drinks on its back. And they're like, isn't he cute?
And then it eats one of the kids.
Sounds like a Rick and Morty episode.
It does, doesn't it? Gee, Rick, I don't know, man. This seems like a really bad idea. What do you think is going to happen in this?
I have no
movie?
idea.
No idea? No speculation?
No clue, no speculation.
Okay.
I'm just, in my head, I'm trying to figure out why we let dinosaurs become such a threat when we can just shoot the ones we see and be done with it. But whatever.
All y'all need is just a red laser.
There's no hybrids in this movie. That's been stated. There's no more hybrids. This is that. Indoraptor was the last one.
Yeah, that reminded me. Why didn't they give the Indoraptor camouflage abilities if, it's being used for war?
Because I'll see it It's cool.
It was just prototype.
Well, the whole thing about the Indominus Rex that made it so.
That was a side effect that they didn't expect.
But once they got its DNA, they could have replicated
Didn't they
that, right?
just
That's
get
why
that,
they had to
though?
get the dino
Yeah,
DNA.
they just got that. So they needed that bone and Blue's blood to make the good one next. Coming up next.
Boom. But that's all done with now because we're not going to follow that thread.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's all I have to say about dinosaurs. You guys good? It's been 2 hours. I think that's sufficient.
Oh, we got 2 hours?
Yeah.
Thank God. I didn't want you to complain that we talked long enough
Talk about those shitty Star Wars movies for like 4 hours.
I did.
That was you guys. That was all you guys.
Alex, I abstained for a lot of that, but I am with you on this.
What's that? On the dinosaur thing? I
Yeah.
love dinosaurs.
I watched it. I'm here for it. I'm talking about it.
I appreciate
I
the
didn't go,
support.
you know what? Have Danny do it.
Poor Danny. He only comes in for the stuff you don't want to talk about.
Yeah. He gets my scraps.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening to this episode of the podcast all about Jurassic World and Colin Trevorrow, how awesome he freaking is. Shout out to that guy. If you guys would like to support this podcast, you can go to saltynerdvideo.com. It's our YouTube channel. You can subscribe and like. We have all of our content there broken up into nice, digestible little segments for you. So check that out. You can also go to saltynerdclub.com if you would like to support this podcast. Throw us some cheddar. And you can do $1, $5, $10, whatever it is, and you get some exclusive content in return. And signing off, Matthew Kadish, where can they find you on the socials?
Nowhere. Don't find me.
Yeah, don't. He just
Wow, you done?
scolding hot takes. Birds of Prey and Last Jedi.
Twitter is-
You have to already
Sucks
know
right now.
him in order to follow
Yeah,
him.
I'm very exclusive.
Jude, where can they find you?
I am Jude. You can find me at I am Jude Juju on Instagram and Twitter.
Right on. And Matthew Vader, the barbarian himself, where can they find you?
You can find me at Matt Vader 74. Twitch, Twitter, Instagram,
Grindr.
YouTube. Stop it. Every week we do
It
this.
stopped being funny so long ago.
I still laugh.
I'm not on Grindr.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening. Have a great night.